Hope I got it. Damn it.
Whoa. You got it.
Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Detroit Lions news.
But when I see Dan Campbell handling the clock the way he has over the last 3 years, same shit with fourth down going for it, admitting after the game that, yeah, you know what, our defense played pretty well, but, you know, we put them in bad spots. Whose fucking fault is that, buddy?
That's a turnover. I'm sorry, especially in your own freaking side. Don't play that way, Dan. I hope you're listening. Don't coach that way.
So Darcy's on with us pre-show, talking about how he's ready for the Hendon Booker. Wow.
You got to continue to do the work. You know, there is a lot of hype and there is a lot of the media involved now.
And Jahmyr Gibbs, guys, you're going to fall in love with them because Goff's going to find him in the slot. He's going to get a lot of screen passes.
I've been following the Lions. I mean, that's my team, man. I mean, they're the team that drafted me and gave me a chance to play the NFL.
Finally talking Lions in the playoffs. We got the Stafford angle, Aaron Donald angle. We didn't draft Aaron Donald. We took Eric Ebron. I want no part of that.
No, Detroit fans. Hey, I got my jersey right there. My helmet right there. Let's get it cheering, man. It's time for y'all to start cheering right now.
Super Bowl.
That's right.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? I think it's that right there. It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. All you guys that were in here. It's our core foundation, man, grit. And what does it mean? Really, in a nutshell, I think it means this. We'll go a little bit longer, we'll push a little harder, and we'll think a little deeper and a little sharper. Like, to me, it means we'll play anywhere. We'll play on grass. We'll play on turf. We'll go to a fucking landfill. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass. It means that normally I'm 100%, 85%, man. That's all I need to beat you. I don't care.
I did a little something different there. Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Lions news. And everybody knows everybody around here. Come on, baby, let's talk about it. John, you were in Allen Park today. You said it was like the national media is there. Talk about it, brother.
Boys, it happened. The Detroit Lions are in the Final Four. The Final Four, the NFC Championship game. We're sitting here talking about a team that if they put together a 60-minute performance out on the road, where they played well this year, opportunity to go to the Super Bowl, the big game where everybody talks about you. Yeah, the Detroit Lions are the talk of the national world right now, and it's crazy. I don't care about Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has just signed his football career away. He's going to go out there and flop. The Detroit Lions are the football team that are going to handle business. And you look at it, we all talk a little bit of first and foremost shock. Yeah, we knew the Lions were better than the Bucs, but to finally see this football team get their kudos, get their respect, get the national media from ESPN to The Athletic to the big time reporters in the National Football League from NFL Network come down. It's a sea of individuals that want to know about the Detroit Lions. But in the end, the boys talking here, myself, we know just as much about the Detroit Lions as any national reporter because we're there, boots on the ground, following it. I know Joe, Walt, Darcy, among the most passionate individuals following this football team. So being there is great. We can talk to Jared Goff. We talked to Taylor Decker, Aiden Hutchinson. It has the feel and like talking to friends, like welcome to the NFL. The Lions are no longer the laughingstock. No more are they going to talk about, at least for this time period, with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell working together. No longer are they going to be looked at as the losers of the National Football League. They went out there at home and showcased to the entire country with the eyes of the world watching. Detroit Lions football plays. It's playoff winning football. one playoff win in 3 decades, and we just got the privilege of watching 2 back-to-back close games, winning the way in which they know how to and what they become accustomed to. So now they're in the dance. Now we get to see mano a mano what this football team looks like against one of the established elite in the 49ers. I'm flying out Saturday. If you follow me on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, I'll bring it to you like you were there. That's the mission. I'm going out there to California. California love, maybe with the opportunity to see this Detroit Lions team in the Super Bowl. It's crazy to think about. What was your reaction when they beat the Bucs?
Well, I was there, so I had bursted out eardrums for the first 24 hours because that place was totally loud, and it's a total home field advantage. I think people overstate it sometimes about when you go to opposing stadium. Obviously we know Seattle, Kansas City, those are loud venues, but I think Ford Field is becoming that venue nationally. And Sunday it was loud as I've ever heard it. Obviously, they broke the decibel record for Ford Field, so it was great to see. Obviously, they played a great game. I was a little concerned at the half. I was like, I'm not really liking this, man. But as it got going, the third quarter was a little bit different, and then the fourth quarter they kind of took off and they kind of started playing their game. And then if we're looking forward to anything that I'm kind of concerned about going to San Francisco about, I don't know about you, John. I don't know about you, Walt, but these third quarters, it's been a trend all year. That's the only thing I'm pretty much worried about moving forward. But the 2 playoff wins this year is just great. It's gravy because you have players that you have to build around. Obviously, Brian Branch, Hutch, Jahmyr Gibbs. There's so much talent on this team going forward, and the future's bright for this team no matter what happens Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys 100%. For me, before the game even read all zeros, I was already thinking about San Francisco pretty much midway through the fourth quarter. But yeah, it's almost vindication. I told you so. This is finally real. I think this is a football team that's been proving the doubters wrong all year and slaying demons all year, starting from week 1 when they went to Kansas City and shocked the world. Of course, a lot of people put asterisks on that win, but this is a team that never lost more than 1 game in a row all season. That's a shout out to Dan Campbell and his ability to get a young team focused and prepared, and his ability to get them not only to move on from a loss, but you have to also be able to move on from a victory. Sometimes you can allow either one of those things to linger into the following week. I think that's how a lot of teams wind up losing 2, 3, 4 games in a row. But like I said, it felt like vindication. These are games now that we feel like we're going to win. These were a lot of games in the past where people who felt like the same old Lions always applied to everything, these were games that we would have lost. People were terrified of the Rams game because of Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay and history. Not so much the X's and O's, not so much the matchups. It was the script of what could happen. And a lot of people viewed Stafford as the big bad boogeyman who was going to rain on our parade and send us back home into what we really are, which is some lovable losers. And I think this team has proven this season that they're more than that. The Tampa Bay game, I think a lot of people pretty much figured we would win that game. You had some people thought Tampa could pull the upset. They were the better team week 6. I think we were the better team also last week. The game kind of went the way the game went back in week 6, almost for 4 full quarters. Difference is I think we had some guys healthy this game that weren't healthy back in week 6, and we were able to close them out. We were healthier. If we would have been healthy back in week 6, who knows, we may have closed them out earlier because that was also a tight game until the J-Mo touchdown. But like I said, this was a very exciting streak of games. Going back to after the Dallas game, And I said after they lost to Dallas, in the form that they lost to Dallas, that type of loss may be good for this team. And to me, it's proven it is right now. They're on a streak. They're not turning the ball over. They're barely committing any penalties. They're running the football. They're dominating the line of scrimmage. Everything is going their way right now, and they're hot.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Darcy, what was it like for you? I know you've been a longtime supporter, experiencing what this run has meant to you, because, you know, for everybody, it just kind of has a sense of relief. Like, now we can actually talk football instead of the history of a team that wasn't that good.
Well, it's been. I looked at the schedule, and man, I was 20 years old the last time the Lions won a playoff game. I'm 50 now, so that's 30 years. Look at you can see the wrinkles and all the stress. And I've been a season ticket holder for 2 years. It's just it's great going to those Monday night football games, Sunday night football games. Downtown Detroit looks beautiful. I'm excited for the draft. I'm excited for this season. And guys, I didn't really think we were going to go this far. I did not. Everybody knows that I'm not a Jared Goff supporter. But Joe shut me up. Joe punched me in the face, just like Dan Campbell said 3 years ago to the day yesterday. Joe shut me up. So I got all my chips. I'm pushing them all in the middle for Jared Goff. I do believe we could beat San Francisco. I'm going to watch Walt's show and his breakdown tomorrow. I can't wait. That's a bad take, but go for it, John.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you look at it, Joe, you're there, Walt watching as well, being part of it. What has led to the success? Has it been the offense that has carried this football team all year? The offensive line keeping Goff clean? You guys see what a quarterback and how efficient he can be, among the best when he's got a clean pocket. And it stinks that Jonah Jackson got hurt. We'll see the impact this week again. Awosika is okay as a fill-in, but leaves you concerned because he did give up some pressures that you clearly see impact Jared Goff and that offense. The red zone has been phenomenal, but you can always definitely get a little concerned about how the Lions perform in that third quarter. But I look at it like, yes, the offense we know is a staple. What has stepped up, what has been noticeable, has been this defense that, yes, we finally get to see a bend, don't break defense where, yeah, they're going to give up chunk plays. Yeah, guys like Puka Nacua are going to get theirs. Mike Evans went off, but it did not damage the team. Mm-hmm. Why? Because in critical moments when you need that turnover or that pressure, the Lions have been able to do it. They've closed out football games. The defense has taken a step forward. Is it championship caliber? No, but they're making do with what they have, given that they've lost their best pass rusher alongside Aiden Hutchinson. Most teams don't recover when you lose a player off your team that had 8 sacks. James Houston played 2 games and he was done for the whole year.
Yep.
You are a football team that when it matters the most, make key plays. And I think that it's a football team that, with the defense getting better, that still potentially can do more things in regards to the secondary and tapping into the potential of the safeties. I think the reason why the Lions won 2 playoff games, the defense took a step forward and played to the level that complemented the offense enough. Why do you guys think the Lions 2 playoff wins in 2 weeks at home?
It's because they believe. They believe in each other. They believe in the process that Dan Campbell has built, the culture that Dan Campbell has built. You know, whenever I get the chance to talk to Darren McCarty, the Red Wings 4-time Stanley Cup champion, he always says the same thing about this sports, and it's this in totality. You become a great team when your team is all bought in, and when you're a dangerous team, that's because you're all bought in. Like the 2002 Red Wings, as good as they were, talent doesn't mean anything when you're not, bought in. So it's all about, yeah, they don't got the talent on the defensive end, but they just do what they have to do to grind out a win. And I look at this Lions team and, John, it's funny because you said it, but we've been talking about this bend don't break defense. You know, Patricia was doing that whole bend don't break, but it broke every time he was on the field. You know, that's some of the things that you have dealt with. But this team, they just they find ways to win, and they find ways to keep the opposing team out of the end zone. So that's all that matters. Like I know people look at the yards, and I know you were there, John, so you've seen the quote, but you have to give to get. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to give up the big plays in the passing game, and they're going to try to stop you on the ground. That's exactly what they've been trying to do, and they've done a great job of it all year long. Even though Tampa Bay ran a little bit on the Lions this week, but they haven't had a 100-yard rusher yet, and there's not many teams that could say that in the NFL.
Okay. Well, it's over to me. Okay, I'm gonna take it kind of to the football field spot. First off, when you look at them offensively, they've got a steady hand at quarterback. They've got a veteran who's been there before. He's got something to prove. He's got talent. He's got a chip on his shoulder. They have an outstanding system built around Jared Goff's strengths. They have a dog at wide receiver. He may not be 6'4", 220 pounds, but he's the legit number one in this league right now, and I think people are starting to catch on to it. They have a dominating run game, and also they dominate at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. I think Joe and I discussed this a lot about any football team. You can throw the Indianapolis Colts in there, for example. Even if you don't have the best quarterback play, if you're really, really good at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football, the Colts got 9 wins playing that type of football. So just imagine when you have a good quarterback, you got some talented players around that guy. And if you look at the Detroit Lions, as well, as I mentioned, they dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. Now, they have issues as far as getting to the quarterback. They've had streaks throughout the season where they've been hot. They've had cold streaks. I remember they had a streak during the early part of the season where everybody was questioning how good Aiden Hutchinson was and everybody else was trash and this and that. But as we all understand, teams go through those type of lulls during the season. But a major thing I believe has really, really helped this defense out is the maturation of the safety position. And as everyone seems to understand, within that 4-2-5 defense, the safeties are the guys. They're the weapons within that defense. And for a team like us who doesn't have a legit number one corner, which I believe if they eventually get that guy, this defense is going to be elite. Even without them getting another not wide receiver, even without them not getting another premier edge rusher, they can add a couple guys in the middle of the defensive line. But if they get a legit number one corner, this defense is going to become lights out. So if you look at the safety position, Ifeatu Melifonwu, he's been huge for them. He's been pretty much like a free agent acquisition the second half of the season. Tracy Walker has kind of faded out, but Kirby Joseph has done his job. And I remember Ashanti and I on the Lions Avenue podcast discussed last season, at the end of last season, we felt that Kirby Joseph could be a better football player without all the picks. A lot of times we immediately latch interceptions to a player, or he's a great player, he has all these picks. I think Kirby Joseph this season has become a better all-around football player. He's become better against better against the run. He's a more secure, solid tackler. And I think his decision-making on the back end, his instincts look a lot better. Some of those plays he made last year was kind of luck. Not so much luck, but more of him just being there in the right place at the right time. But I think Kirby Joseph is a better football player this year for sure. He may not have the picks to show that, but I believe he is if you look at the film. Branch has also been great for them. He's played a huge role in the success of this defense when he's been out there. As I mentioned, Ifeatu Melifonwu, and even Chauncey Gardner. I understand Chauncey missed a large portion of this season. To me, he could have the Rasheed Wallace type of effect on his team. He may not be putting up these crazy stats. Yep. I hear a lot of Lions fans been complaining about him. He's talking too much. He's not making any plays. He made a play last week. But I think his confidence that he exudes on the rest of that secondary and that defense is huge for those young guys out there. And I believe he's playing a major key role for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my thoughts on this is it's a culture change, right? We used to say, "Oh, same old Lions." Chappie on 97 won the ticket. That's his shtick. He likes to say, "Same old Lions, same old Lions." You haven't heard that this year. It's actually it's quite irrespectful to even say stuff like that. I haven't heard same old Lions at all this year. So Dan Campbell's installed, trust, smash mouth football. We're going to punch you in the face. We're going to drive through the ACAP. We're going to do lead ISO, 32 lead ISO. We're going to do a wham. And, we're so talented on the offensive line. That's our MO. So when you got Jahmyr Gibbs, you notice Money Montgomery is on the first set. And then the second set, it comes up with Jahmyr Gibbs. We got, thunder and lightning. It's incredible. We can nail you with so many different ways with Sam Laporta, just an absolute stud, and Brian Branch just laying the wood to all these offensive players. It's just, that's how you win championships. And guess what, San Francisco? I hope we have some San Francisco fans watching. We're going to punch you in the mouth. I guarantee it. This is Coach Darcy. Let's go.
Darcy, threatening with violence.
It's not violence if it's true.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
It's a promise.
Man, no, it's great, guys, to be able to talk about a physical football team playing well. Safeties that, the development of Fatu Melifonwu has been the story of the year, really. You look at a player that's been around for a couple seasons, and Derek Barnes as well, that you recognize that draft and develop can actually mean something in Detroit, where you don't always have to go out there and pick a high-price free agent. If you draft and develop players that are physical and can play at the level that you want consistently, finding Fatu Melifonwu is a blessing in disguise. It provides competition where you had a former starter in Tracy Walker. He gets sent to the bench in that you recognize that someone took his job. And that's what a good football team does, is you recognize what the talent is and you put out the best 53 guys and your best starters 48 when it's game day. And it bodes well for the football team. So now it's the Lions and the Niners. And just talking with friends and talk with everybody, this could be the rivalry of the NFL for the next couple years. If you recognize that, hey, John Lynch is one of the premier talent evaluators, Kyle Shanahan, one of the better coaches. Now you got Brad Holmes with a young group. I want to see this be the rivalry, like the Cowboys and the Niners, like the Cowboys and the Giants, two teams that are going to battle. It just means so much more. I think if the Lions win, beating the 49ers, it holds so much prestige that it is such a rocket ship strapped to that organization's back. I think that this could be the rivalry for the NFC for the next couple years. Are you guys excited to see it? I think that when you look at it, obviously Dallas is a rival, the Packers, all the teams in the division, but the creme de la creme, the team that you want to end up facing is the number one team. And I think all year long, who's everybody talked about? The San Francisco 49ers. And you're going into their crib to handle business. I'm hearing about 25% of the stadium is going to be Lions fans. So there's going to be some presence from Detroit fans, but it means so much. The history with Joe Montana, Clark, the immaculate touchdown, what Montana and the West Coast offense brought to the league. You recognize Steve Young taking over for Joe Montana and then having his run. We got their coach from Mariucci. Now you realize Detroit's building their legacy to go out there and handle business and compete. What better way to kick off a rivalry than to beat the 49ers in their own crib? I just am so excited to see it. We'll be in attendance. I think this can be a rivalry. You guys thinking it? You excited that that's the opponent? Or are you thinking, well, that's going to be a tough one to meet our goals, to face that team?
Well, I think to get to the next level of anything, you want to go against the best. I think anytime you get a chance to go against the team that is the prohibitive favorite, or the team that's the most people think is going to win, that's the team that you want to go against. You don't want to go against, like, I'm sorry to say it, the Green Bay Packers or anything like that. You want to go against the best of the best. So when I look at this game, you hit on the nail, John. This could be a future rivalry, especially when you look at these two teams and look how they're mirrored to each other. You got Nick Bosa and Aiden Hutchinson, who are becoming fierce pass rushers. We hope that Jack Campbell can develop into anything like Fred Warner. They don't have these elite cornerbacks, but they have good enough corners, right? They have a great offensive line. They have, Trent Williams. We have Penei Sewell. Like, we have Jahmyr Gibbs. They have CMC. Jared Goff, Brock Purdy. There's a lot in common between these two teams. And I do think that these two teams can become sort of like a rivalry. And I think it's like you look at the two coaches and they're kind of their own style, And I look at Dan Campbell kind of like a Bill Cowher, and you look at like a Kyle Shanahan, like, just like his dad. So it's gonna be fun, and I think that obviously you're right. This could become a rivalry moving forward, but this is what you want. Like, you want to go against the best, and you want to go to their house and beat their ass. That's what you want to do. I don't care who you are. I don't care what sport you've played. You want to go in there and kick their head in and win the game. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring a different perspective on this. I'm going to say no. And I'm going to say no because not only the age difference, I think we're more so ascending right now more than the 49ers are. The 49ers been really good for a while. They've had a lot of bites at the apple, and you only get so many bites at the apple. 49ers have had some pretty heartbreaking playoff losses under Kyle Shanahan. I don't know how much longer they're going to get to just keep knocking at the door before something eventually fades out. Trent Williams, I'm not sure how much longer Trent Williams is going to play. He's beat up. Eric Armstead, who's hurt right now, not sure if he's going to even play on Sunday. I'm pretty sure he's going to play. He's 30, and he's been starting to break down a little bit. Christian McCaffrey, he's going on 28. We all know how the running back position can get in the NFL. Purdy, at the end of the day, I think he's a decent quarterback, and as long as Kyle Shanahan sticks with him in that system, they're going to put the right pieces around him. But I'm not so sure about the rest of that offensive line. They've had some issues over the past couple years. And the secondary, Aubrey Thomas, he's been a pretty solid find for them out of Michigan. He's beat up right now. So, and just in general, the 49ers have struggled staying healthy the past couple years. Actually, past 3 years for that matter. So, for me, I'm going to give it a hard pass. I look at Green Bay, who's younger. They've got a talented defense, a very young, talented defense with playmakers everywhere. They got a young quarterback in Jordan Love. If they can build an offensive line that's dependable around him, get him a couple more playmakers, they're going to be right there in the mix. I think a team like Atlanta, they're a playmaking, solid quarterback away from being right there as well, maybe being the best team in that division. You got to think Arizona's going to eventually get better, despite who the ownership is. So for me, I'm going to have to say no, like I said, mainly because I just don't see Frisco getting bite after bite after bite at the apple and just keep ascending. We're ascending. We're younger. The 49ers are kind of they got some guys on that team that's getting old right now. So as long as they keep the coach and they keep some of those rock solid philosophies within the offense and within the team, they should be okay. But I'm not so sure if they're still ascending anymore. And if you're not ascending in the NFL, you're going to plateau. I felt this past season that we just finished, the 49ers were going to take a step back and they would be a 10-win team. They turned out to be a 12-win team. But we could see next season, just because you're good, you're really good for a 2, 3, 4 year span, doesn't mean it's going to happen the next year.
No,
and hang on, I got something there because we already know Walter is a hater, and I just fooling around with stuff here.
I want to compare Detroit more realistically to some teams that kind of started their rebuild the same exact time that we did. You're talking about Seattle. I believe Seattle's kind of closed the gap on San Francisco. because San Francisco, there's only so much treading average quarterback after average quarterback out there and escaping by the skin of your teeth that you can do.
So even if the Lions get to the postseason and get their ass kicked, I still think that this is a building football team that has a bright future. But right now, I think it's 49ers' biggest threat to the Eagles.
Well. Stephen A. Smith likes the Lions. The Lions have been Stephen A. Smith's punching bag for decades. But
so a little flashback that's before the season even started. We had our predictions. Myself, I always say we gotta win the goddamn division. That's first and foremost. Win the division first. Get a home playoff game. It's nice that we're going to get a primetime game against. We play San Francisco next year, do we not? First place schedule.
I think so. Yeah.
So we're gonna get another primetime game probably in the first 3 weeks. But myself, I hate those Dallas Cowboys fans. I hate those boys. I hate them. When's the last time we beat them? With the last time with Riley, and then Stafford puts it over the end zone. That's the last time. I can't remember the last time, other than 30 years ago when I was, good looking, not an old man, So that's not that funny, Joe. But anyway, I'm not that old, man. I'm gorgeous. Anyways, you have to win the division first. Little things will take care of the big things, like Jim McCall likes to say. So it's nice. We're going to compete against the San Francisco 49ers, and we're going to it's a measuring stick game. So hopefully we're going to punch it. I think we're a better road team, actually. We're less distracted, more focused when we get on the road. These players are right behind Dan. John would know that. He's in the locker room every day, or 3 times a week at least.
Yeah, no, I respect what Walt has to say, because it goes to show you that, when we look to the future, what would the impact be of paying Goff, paying Sewell, paying St. Brown? It makes it really hard. That's where you lean on your talent evaluators. I have so much respect for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan that I tend to believe that they'll be around. Yeah, maybe not in the NFC title game, but man, could you imagine if this year, next year, it's back and forth, next year in Detroit? My goodness. It's just because they have cachet. Same with Dallas. Beating Seattle would be nice because they had our number. But in terms of historic football franchises, you realize what's that?
I'm this guy, man. Like, just man, oh man.
But Darcy keeps showing it.
Yeah. No, I just think that I the 49ers, that's why I'm hoping that this weekend the opportunity presents itself. They go out there, handle business, but a little banged up. There's a tough. It would be great, mano a mano, both teams healthy. 49ers though I would trade a Jonah Jackson being injured for Deebo Samuel being banged up. Absolutely, right? But the engine that makes the Lions purr is that offensive line. Not having Jonah Jackson is my biggest worry, is that Awosika is okay, and you can fill in and scheme away from perceived areas of weakness on your line. If you go up the middle, if you obviously use run action, all those kind of things to kind of cover it up. But you guys see that if Jared Goff is pressured and peppered, if Bosa, Warner, Armstead get into it, if the interior of the defensive line gets pushing, it's going to be a challenge. I'm a little concerned that the Lions offense is not going to be as prolific this week. It's going to be more of a grind. And I think being on the road makes it a little bit more challenged with communication, with making sure everybody's on their same page. So you recognize that Jonah Jackson's important. He's when he's been there, you've seen the swagger of that offensive line. You've seen the run game. You see Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, 1-2 combination. And Jonah Jackson's been a force. It's just this year, he's just battled injuries at the worst time, because for him, it's a contract year. And you can't be missing a ton of games when other teams are turning on the film and you're not on it. So it's tough for Jonah Jackson. It does worry me. But do you guys think that the replacements, and what they could bring to the table without Jonah this week. By all accounts, he's not going to play. It's a little bit concerning to me, but what impact is that going to have on the Lions offensive line and the offense? What do you guys think?
It's going to be interesting, man. During this time of year, all teams, well, the Final Four teams all have players beat up. You're looking at the beat up Frank Ragnow versus the beat up Eric Armstead as 0 tech and at the 1 tech. So that's going to be interesting. I think Dre Greenlaw also dealing with an Achilles injury. He's going to play. At least he's listed to play so far, I believe. So there's some trade-offs, I believe, within that offensive line and the defensive line. I'm happy we got Penei Sewell out there. You know, that pick made a hell of a lot of sense, and it pays off in games like this. It paid off in the Charger game against Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and it's going to pay off in this type of game right here. If you have someone out there, and Taylor Decker as well, if you have guys out there that have the ability to erase edge rushers, that's why they make the big money. So I believe if we can keep Bosa under wraps, Armstead has been dealing with some issues lately. Frank is going to always be out there. You know, Taylor Decker's going to do his thing. We should, in theory, be okay as long as we can keep Bosa under wraps. We can keep Bosa under wraps. We can pretty much control the rest of that defensive line because Armstead is dealing with the situation he's dealing with right now. So if I could put the concern at a level, I would put it maybe at a 5, maybe, simply because we have no idea exactly the rotation of the defensive linemen for the 49ers and how they plan on attacking this. So, and we won't find that out until the game kicks off. So, like I said, I would be somewhere around a 5 right now as far as concerned.
Okay, real fast before Joe. Juan Lee Wei, who do you think you're talking to here? This is Detroit. You say the Detroit Lions suck. There's no way they're beating the 49ers. That is disrespectful at the highest level. You can't come up in here and talk like that. Lions are no fluke. I just think you're talking like that because you're a keyboard warrior thinking, I don't know if you're out west eating all that sushi or whatever it is you're doing out there. Listen, this is going to be competitive. You can't come in here and talk like that. Detroit needs some respect. I respect you for getting in on the comment, but take that stuff out to the West Coast, man. That stuff don't belong up in here. Lions are going to bring it, and if you're a fan of the Niners, get ready. This is something, a freight train's coming your way out west. Hit it, Joe.
Hey, Juan can hold that big fat L. Because guess what? Here's the thing about this game. I find this so interesting about this game. Obviously, Jonah Jackson being out is huge, but he's one of the offensive linemen on this team that has given up the most pressures on this offensive line, bar none. I think it's like 24%. Me and Walt talked about it before the Rams game. But there is a player on San Francisco that if he is out, it's huge for their offense. Think about this. When Deebo Samuel is out, the drop-off in the 49ers offense is 1.7 yards per play minus. So they lose 1.7 yards per play when he's out. And the success rate on plays is 8% lower without Deebo. So Deebo is a huge part of their offense. When they struggled this year with that 3-game losing streak, guess who they didn't have? Deebo. And it's a huge thing on Brock Purdy. So if Deebo is 25%, 50%, he tries to go, fine. But I think that that's a bigger loss for the 49ers than Jonah Jackson. And I know Ashika hasn't been good, but I just have to imagine the elite Hank Fraley is going to get him ready to go. Now, that's one of the things we got to talk about later about Ben Johnson taking Fraley with him. But I think that Hank Fraley will get I think he'll get Ashika ready to go. And when he went against Ed Oliver on Thanksgiving last year as a rookie, I thought he did a bang-up job. And Ed Oliver is one of the best defensive tackles in the league. So I thought they got him prepared well enough. And I think, here's the thing, I think we look at the pressures that he gave up against the Buccaneers. He was going against Kansas and he was going against Vita Vea. Though that's not any small test. You know what I'm saying? So I like the week of preparation. Obviously, when you get thrown into the fire, you're going to have a little bit of a hiccup along the way. But overall, I think that they can get him going. And I think it's because they got Hank Fraley as their offensive line coach.
That's good. I love it. I love the confidence that you guys have in regards to the Lions. And that's what's so great in this matchup. In years past, you might not have even given the Lions a realistic chance. If the Lions play to their strengths,
Absolutely.
if they do what they need to do to be effective and play at a high level and they get it going, Detroit Lions football is winning. And I think that, no football team is fully healthy at this point in the season. The Lions have showed the next man up mentality has been really proven to be effective, having dealt with injuries all across the offensive line. And you recognize, I think, what we need to be talking about is the Lions do have an edge, I think, in one area, and that's at the quarterback spot. And that's a big area. Jared Goff, in my mind, I think if he plays clean, finds the weapons that he's got, they built an offense that really can play up against the toughest NFL defenses. Why? You got options. Sam Laporta, another week healthy, even though he rested on Wednesday. I do believe there's nothing to be concerned about. I think that he'll be there, no doubt about it. You got a player that is elite already as a rookie. You got Jahmyr Gibbs. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just is unguardable at times. Wants the football so bad in the right spot nearly every route he runs. Guys, when has it been in Detroit when an athlete drops the football, it almost makes news? That's how good and efficient Amon-Ra has been. Where he puts his hand on a ball, doesn't get to it. It's like, oh my God, what just happened? And you recognize that Goff, with this offense that has been built for him, better than Brock Purdy. I think the Lions can rattle this young cat. Goff's been there. Experience matters. Playing in San Francisco in the Bay, no big deal. Goff did it for years. He knows the deal. He's played in the Super Bowl. Nothing rattles the man. I try to ask him, like today I asked him, like, hey, is this the peak that you're playing at? Trying to get him to say, I feel like I'm playing my best football. He wouldn't say. He said, I'm the product of my line, of my coaches. He went ultra QB speak.
Mm-hmm.
The man is professional, calm under pressure, can handle the media, can handle it all. And I think that one of the edges the Lions have is the quarterback, Jared Goff, and how he's played is underrated. I know everybody is in love with the mobile quarterback. I know everybody is loving what's next. They see Hendon Hooker sitting there and he's the shiny new draft pick. But yeah, we got to take time and say what we just saw over the last 4 months, really stellar from Jared Goff in regards to a drop back quarterback handling his business. The Smitty, I don't know what you've been watching. Open your eyes, turn on the film. Goff, 2 picks, 1 fumble loss. That's not going to happen in this game. Now, I understand it's happened in big games before. This week, I think Goff is the ultimate grinder, the ultimate representation of grit. Cast aside, now an opportunity to get back. And what better way to stick it to the Rams than to be in Detroit and take them to the Super Bowl? I think the Lions QB matchup right now, Brock Purdy, I think when you saw his nervousness in the rain and missing some of those throws, there's some things there you can exploit if you're the Detroit Lions with pressure and with some looks there, some stunts and some candy there, some disguising, some blitzes in certain ways. Brock Purdy, I think, will blink first, in my opinion. Goff, I think, leads the Lions and plays at a high level this week. What do you guys think is the clear edge that the Lions do have? If you see it, I know it's a game of matchups, and it's pretty even across the board. I see the Lions QB being a huge edge. Check mark to Goff.
Well, I think we also have the edge at safety as far as in the secondary when it comes to having difference makers back there. Now, we're talking about defensive line, front 7. I would go ahead and hand that over to the 49ers. But if Debo isn't playing, I know Darcy posted a graphic saying that Debo Samuel was out. If Debo isn't playing, that takes away a large chunk of that playbook for them. And I think a lot of those plays in return will go to Christian McCaffrey. If we listen to Dan Campbell's presser yesterday, First thing he brought up was when it comes to shutting down the 49ers, or at least contending with the 49ers, it all starts with stopping the run. The same way it did with every other game this season. They're focused on Christian McCaffrey first. If we take McCaffrey out of that, and you're looking at Deebo Samuel perhaps not playing or being hobbled, now you have to worry about pretty much Brandon Ayuk. That's all you pretty much got to worry about. Kittle, for whatever reason, and I've noticed if you look at a lot of film, a lot of all-22, Frisco all-22, for whatever reason, Kittle seems to be the one guy that he doesn't have that same rapport with as far as when it comes to Christian McCaffrey. A lot of those check downs are just off of the first read. He won't go to the second. He won't go to the third. Not to say that he doesn't do it or Purdy can't do it, but in most cases, he's going to take the first open guy. That's just what he's prone to do. That's what he's been when he was at Iowa State. That's the kind of coach. That's the kind of quarterback he really is. So, one by one, if you start to remove weapons away from Brock Purdy, he becomes more and more human. That's it. So, and we've seen all season, you're not going to beat this defense as bad as some people may think it is, and it's not. It's gotten better as the season progressed, and they've been actually better this year than they were last year in certain areas. But you're not going to beat this defense with one hand tied behind your back. Brandon Ayuk can go out there. He can have 8 catches for 160. He can have 1 touchdown. Doesn't really matter at all if they don't do what they're supposed to do, which is everything else. We force you to, at the end of the day, go outside of what you really want to do. Now, the question for us is, this is going to be the biggest test for us all season, outside of the Raven game. After the Raven game, this right here is going to be the biggest test for us as far as what our approach is in football, how we apply it to every other team, and how we're going to handle it this week with the 49ers.
Yeah, here's the thing. I know I see a comment in there from the Smithy. It says, I don't know what you're looking at. The Lions defense is trash. I'm going to say this for everyone that's out there. It's not trash when you're holding teams to 20 points. That when you get to the 20-point mark, you're doing a pretty damn good job. Now, you can give up all the yards you want, but in the end of the day, this game is predicated on freaking points, not yards. We know that in Detroit because we had Matthew Stafford have all those glorified yards, passing yards, Calvin Johnson breaking records, and guess what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So when you talk about the game of football, it is predicated on the defense, and the defense has been good, like Walt said. Now, going back to what John was talking about with the mismatches, I do like the safety, like Walt said, and I do think the quarterback is a mismatch, and I'll tell you the reason why. The reason why quarterback is a mismatch in terms of Jared Goff being the better quarterback, he's more seasoned. He's been one of the better quarterbacks in the fourth quarter, and I think as a quarterback, you earn your money in the fourth quarter. So look at these stats. These are some stats that came out a couple of days ago. Since week 10, including the playoffs, pass yards per game in the fourth quarter, 92.7. That's first in the NFL. His completion percentage is 73.9, which is almost 74%. That's first in the NFL. That's 7 TDs. That's tied for first in the NFL. And his passer rating is also first in the NFL. When you talk about a quarterback that can absolutely be your quarterback moving forward, John brought it up about Hendon Hooker. Screw Hendon Hooker. You got a quarterback. You got a quarterback right here that you can build on, because those numbers speak for themselves. Like, yeah, you can talk about first through third quarter, but in the fourth quarter, that's where you earn your money. You're either a good quarterback in the fourth quarter or you're a shitty quarterback in the fourth quarter. And that's what comes down to wins and losses. And when I look at Jared Goff in the fourth quarter, he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league in the fourth quarter. And that's statistically proven.
Man, it's good to hear. I love it. I love the appreciation you guys are showing for the quarterback. QB 16, man, yep. And the talk is coming. The talk is coming. Do you pay him 50, 55 million? People get nervous, like, oh, well, we like the wins, but we don't want to pay for it. Get ready, because you have a good football team. Now you got to see what happens when other teams start going, well, Jonah, we'll give you $10 million a year, $15 million a year. Well, St. Brown, Panay, here's a couple $100 million. Let's see the Lions match it. So it'll be interesting to see. Boys, let's get your confidence level before we wrap up. Lions, 49ers, Sunday, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. What do you guys think is going to happen? Because for me, I see a game where you got to weather the storm early. I see really right from jump, who gets the ball first. If the Lions offense gets that football first, you go and you score. You go get that touchdown, put the pressure right on the 49ers. See if they can handle it. If you're on defense first, you got to make the plays. You can't let the moment get to you. This one's going to be tough. This one's going to be a grind. I see a close game. I see back and forth momentum swings. But all year long, the Lions have been able to withstand the pressure, withstand the heat, and get into it. The only thing I see that derails the Lions is if these officials take them out of the game. Aiden Hutchinson gets a sack, you throw a flag. You have defensive backs making plays, you throw a flag. If the officials take it out of the Lions, if they don't let the Lions play physical, that's their brand. If every time the Lions breathe on the 49ers, they toss a flag, it's going to be a grind. But there's going to be those moments. Get ready. It's the 49ers home. So I see the officiating kind of tending to lean toward the home team. But the Lions have overcome all of that. Can they overcome it one more time? I think they do. Something about this football team has the team of destiny kind of feel. All the old issues have been tied up. Maybe you go and play Baltimore and you make up for that 66-yarder. You shut up all the talk of J-Mo liking Lamar Jackson tweets. Maybe it's the Chiefs who you beat to start the year, you beat to end the year. I think the key to this game, weather the early storm. If you're already out of it by the first quarter, I think it's going to be an uphill climb. That football team is good. They played a D- game, their worst game of the year, and they beat the Packers. So it's the true best team in the NFC. You got to go take it, and you got to play clean. If Jared Goff, yeah, I know people have seen the one fumble, the turnovers. The team is built to handle one mistake, but multiple errors, multiple explosive plays, giving up touchdowns would be the ultimate nightmare. I don't see that happening. I'm investing. I've only gone on one trip this year on the road. I went to Kansas City. I drove it. I hate flying. I'm packing the bags, getting on a flight Saturday morning.
Of course.
I'm going to enjoy the California sun. I'm going to see the sun again on Saturday. Yep. Sunday, it's going to be 70 degrees at that stadium. It's going to be beautiful. And it needs to be a coronation. I need to see your guys' videos that you record from your neighborhoods, from your family celebrating. This football team needs to be in the Super Bowl. The ratings are off the charts in Detroit and nationally when the Lions are on. 49ers, been there, done that. They're going to get their ass beat by the Ravens. If it's the Niners and the Ravens, they're going to get their ass beat. I think the game that we all need to see is the Lions and the Chiefs, and it's going to happen. I don't know how. I don't know what way Dan Campbell's going to cook this up, if how many trick plays he's got to pull up. But whatever it is, that recipe that he's dialing up, the us versus the world, the disrespect card, all that stuff has to be in play. The key to victory, I think, weather that early storm, and you get after it. The Smitty, you have to cry about the refs. The Lions were the victim of the worst call this year. The offensive lineman said, I'm eligible, and they heard something else directly. You have to. It's the history of the Lions.
Go after yourself, the Smithy. Go
20 to 17 Lions.
Bridget you got.
20 to 17, baby. Man. The Lions win it, and they get to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's your prediction?
Hey.
That's my prediction.
Okay, so John runs the Detroit Lions Lowdown. You guys got to subscribe. That is great. That's where I get most of my information. And one of the articles was about Clete Blakeman. Clete Blakeman hasn't been good to us as a Detroit Lions fan when we went to Green Bay and we went to Lambeau and we got what was that?
Trey Flowers. Trey Flowers, hands to the face.
Hands to the face. Okay, is that hands to your face? He's grabbing the upper, the breast of the pads, and he got called twice. But this is a different team. I'm going to let these two finish this off. But John, this is going to be awesome. Are you going to be posting to the Detroit Lions Lowdown as you're there, or?
Yeah, we do. If you follow along, you can follow along a lot of ways. You can visit si.com/NFL/Lions or type in Detroit Lions SI, on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, or on Facebook, Detroit Lions Lowdown. We do a live blog. We'll post pictures from the stadium, highlights, everything going on. Yeah, we'll be covering the game. Stories, if they lose, the reaction from the players, from Dan Campbell. We cover it all. So you get the analysis right from the source at Lions Lowdown on Facebook. And if you just type in, if you Google my name, right there you see it, John Maakaron, you'll find all the coverage that you like and enjoy. And thank you guys for having me. You guys, this year has been so much fun covering the Lions. And part of the reason, obviously, it's a winning team. But another part is developing the time to spend with you boys, talking about it, seeing all the content creators doing wild stuff. Even this, guys, look how crazy it is. Even my friends, people I know personally, are doing reaction videos, and their girlfriends are making bingo cards of how they watch the game, and they're going viral. That's how crazy this is that people, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Easton. And that's people I know. If you go on Twitter at Detroit Podcast, somebody I know personally is getting out there because he's a crazy Lions fan, and his girlfriend was like, oh, let's just play a bingo with all the crazy stuff he does online. I want to say cheers to you boys. You've made it fun for me. I look forward to Wednesdays. Here's a little cheers to you boys, and I hope that the Lions give everybody a lot to talk about. If it ends up being next week is the finale, so be it. But you guys know that I'll always be here, a source that you have that you can count on to bring you what's going on right there. But I'm just like you boys. I love podcasting. I love the opportunity to talk about the Lions. And I'm going to rest the voice, and I'll catch up with you boys a little bit later. Cheers. Lions in the Super Bowl.
Let's end it on that. Welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Detroit Lions news.
But when I see Dan Campbell handling the clock the way he has over the last 3 years, same shit with fourth down going for it, admitting after the...
What's going on there? My brothers from another mother. We'll put this guy right here. Promote your page.
Didn't even let us give our keys to victory.
I know.
He said, "Screw us."
Screw you. I have to go pee.
He's still mad.
I'll just give my keys to victory to you guys. You.
No, we're still live.
Give them on. Oh, we are.
We're still live. We're still live.
Hey, so listen, I'm gonna say this, man.
Hang on.
Oh, okay. So, Joe, I'm gonna say this. This is one of my keys to victory, main keys. We know what Detroit likes to do, how they're built, what they're predicated off of. I think if anybody's going to beat Frisco, it's a team built like us. Mm-hmm. They destroyed Philly for a few reasons. Philly, that defensive line fell apart. The offensive line fell apart. They had too many issues going on at that point in time. Philly was already in the tailspin. We saw what Tampa did them in the play, how they did what they did to them in the first round of the playoffs. Dominating the line of scrimmage. When I go back and I look at the 49ers losses this season, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Minnesota, what do all of those teams do? Well, blitz a lot.
Yeah.
Especially Minnesota. Minnesota got them off of that. Cleveland got them off of that. Mm-hmm. The Baltimore Ravens destroyed them off of that. And then even Cincinnati, they didn't even look like, and Cincinnati did that to them in San Francisco. And I don't want to hear the injury issues because every damn team in the league has injuries. We had our own share of injuries. We never lost 3 straight. I watched that Frisco team get dominated at the line of scrimmage, and this was prior to the Raven game late in the season. They didn't look like they belonged on the same field with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati at all.
No.
The Cleveland game, defensive line destroyed them and gave them fits all day long. Minnesota, blitz, blitz, blitz. What did Purdy do? He threw what, 3 picks?
Yep, 3 picks.
So we've seen AG blitz a lot more come playoff time. He picked it up heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think he's blitzing the 4th most in the NFL.
And he's using the safeties as weapons.
Yep.
I think everything is set up. Whether people want to give Frisco the benefit of the doubt if they lose based off of, Debo wasn't healthy or the game plan was this and they didn't get Christian McCaffrey enough touches, whatever it may be. I said it 30 times and I'll say it 30 more. If the 49ers do not stop us from establishing the line of scrimmage, they're going to have problems. Yep. I don't give a damn how many all-pros people feel like they got out there, how many Pro Bowlers they have. They will make Brock Purdy look very, very human. And we've seen him look very human this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I look at it like this, man. Like you just brought it up about the blitz. I'm looking it up right now because I'm interested to see, because one of the things that I kind of noticed about the 49ers, I went back over some of their games. I went back over because I was preparing for our show tomorrow at 6:30. I'm preparing for that, and so I went back and watched some of the games: the Cleveland game, the Minnesota game, the Baltimore game, the Cincinnati game, and especially the Baltimore game. Whenever you throw blitzes at Brock Purdy, he's a different quarterback. And I know the stats don't really bear it out that he's a different quarterback, but when he sees like an exotic blitz, like for instance, like Kyle Hamilton coming off the edge, kind of gives him the heebie-jeebies. And it's the same thing that they did with the Cleveland. Cleveland did the same thing. They sent some exotic blitzes. So did Minnesota. And if you're looking at a team that does throw exotic blitzes in the last couple of weeks, especially this Detroit Lions team, I mean, we had Ifeatu Melifonwu coming from the edge and no one blocked him. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. And, we were talking about, John was talking about the quarterback mismatch. And I think this is where the mismatch is really shown, because it's about recognizing the blitz at the line of scrimmage. I think Jared Goff recognizes the blitz as best as he can. Obviously, when you go against a team like Baltimore, or you go as a team that does really good blitzing, it's going to be a little bit harder. But I think Jared Goff recognizes the blitz a little bit better than Brock Purdy. And if you're looking for a kind of like a decipher of which quarterback has the big time, it's the one that recognizes the blitz. I mean,
man, we should even honestly be debating this.
No,
Purdy played one damn season and a handful of games last year. If we were talking about a quarterback that was just super physically gifted, I would understand it.
Right.
But Purdy's not that. And some people just have this predetermined hate for Goff. And a lot of us have been that way here in Detroit, but a lot of people just don't want to believe that Goff is better now. He's better here in Detroit than he was with the Rams. Let's be honest about it, man. Look at the age that he left the Rams. Look at the age that he's at now. Now, how often do we see quarterbacks have second careers? It doesn't happen that often. But I said this when we first made the trade, that there was a possibility, and it was in our best interest for this team if Goff turned out to be the best player. Not the best player, but if Goff turned out to be the answer.
Yeah.
Goff turning out to be the answer enables us to do so much more with this roster. And people just don't want to seem to admit that this guy is actually good.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't better than Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
He was barely better than Baker. Now he's not better than Purdy. You can make the argument, if you swap Purdy out for Goff, that team is better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Walt, we've talked about this a lot, though. Me and you, especially, we've talked about this a lot. I think people have a preconceived notion of what a quarterback has to be. I think they look at Patrick Mahomes and go, that's how my quarterback should be. My quarterback should be like Josh Allen. My quarterback should be like Patrick Mahomes. And the reality of the situation is there's two of those guys. The rest, they have things that they're bad at. You know what I'm saying? And to go back on our San Francisco point about, what kind of mismatch I'm looking at, this run defense that the Detroit Lions have, if they keep the 49ers under 125 yards. Every loss that the 49ers have had is when they don't run they don't run over 125 yards. So if you're confident in this Lions rush D, that's the key to victory right there.
Yeah, I think this will be a huge game for the linebackers as well.
This is where Jack Campbell is going to earn his money, if he's a real deal, because I think he's going to get a lot of looks. Derek Barnes, especially the way that he played last week, I was very impressed. And I think Anzalone's hurt out there, but he's gutting it out, and that's a testament to the culture that they built. But I just look at this linebacker core, and I know it's kind of like a very underrated part of this team. I think the linebacking core is really underrated. I know Derek Barnes just got his first interception, but Derek Barnes has been playing good all year long, and Anzalone's been playing good all year long, and Jack Campbell's starting to turn the corner. And I like where this team is going. No matter what happens on Sunday, I'm content with where they're going.
Darcy, we gonna give him any 3-4 looks? Get Malcolm Rodriguez out there.
Well, with Cabinda being back, I just saw he was on one of my buddies, Matthew. How the hell does he get a current player, to come on a show with Matthew Solers or whatever? But we're not. What do you mean? We're not built to play 3-4. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean they do have the interchangeable pieces. That's if Broderick Martin ever, became playable, I guess. But is he activated?
Usually not. Has he even played a game? And when's the last time we led a game? Was it Green Bay? Was that the last time we led a game?
What do you mean?
Well, we were behind. When's the last time we've been behind in a game? When was the last game time? That is a major question right there.
The Dallas game?
Dallas, yeah. That would have been the last time.
Yeah. But that Dallas game kind of proved my point about this team when they go on the road, man. They're a different team. Like, that was a Dallas Cowboys team, no matter how you slice it, no matter how you talk about it. They were averaging 40 points a game at home, okay? Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact, because I've talked to someone who is very close to the Green Bay Packers coach. They watched that Lions tape and they said, "This is how we attack them. This is how we attack them right here." Mm-hmm. That's what they did. They used the Lions tape to attack the Dallas Cowboys, and they were very successful at it. And I think if we're the Lions, go look at the Baltimore tape, go look at the Cleveland tape, go look at the Cincinnati tape. That's the way you beat San Francisco. It's a lot of people get misconstrued when they talk about these football teams. They go, "This team's unbeatable." But if you go on tape and you look at the tape, every team is beatable. You just have to put your players in the right position. I think these coaches can.
The 49ers has been some front runners also in some games this season. They've been kind of feast to famine in some situations. They either blow you completely out or you put them in a dogfight and they cur out. If you want to be honest about it. Cleveland went out there with Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
And won that game.
Yeah. Yes.
And won that game.
Yes. Or did he take over? Was it P.J. Walker?
Yeah, but it was still a close game all the way through. Then P.J. Walker comes in and throws a couple touchdowns. Like, it's like, all right, whatever. Like, that's the way it goes. But here's where I think that the coaching matchup really matters. Like, if we're talking about coaches, Dan Campbell versus Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, I don't know what it is about him. Every time it's in the fourth quarter, this guy cowers. Kind of like
Do you remember Atlanta? Atlanta? Tom Brady coming back on him?
Yeah, you give.
Well, I guess he was the OC.
Yeah, but he
didn't call the right plays to end that game.
They're due for something bad to happen.
But he is a really
someone on Instagram posted and it was a very well put together video of like ever since the Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl, they had a montage of each and everything that could go wrong for the 49ers in the playoffs going wrong. Are they the Buffalo Bills or the NFC? I don't know. But they've had a lot of close calls that just haven't gone their way. A lot of rough situations.
that comes down to coaching now. Darcy, you know this as much as anyone. Like in the fourth quarter, your coach is either a bitch or a boss. That's
Never
what comes
second
down.
guess. That's the first rule of coaching. Never second guess yourself. Never second guess yourself. Never.
Right.
You got a plan. That's your team.
See,
That's what you're built
Shanahan
to.
can do no wrong though. And if he never wins one, it won't be his fault, because the first thing everyone will say is, well, he never had a quarterback. Like he had no hand in that though. Like it's
such bullshit though. Like
I like him. I like him a lot as a play caller. I think he's a very,
Right.
very bright offensive mind. I think people also cut him a lot of unnecessary slack.
Oh, for sure. I think when you talk about Kyle Shanahan, the one thing about Kyle Shanahan that's like you're like, okay, this guy kind of does it to himself is like him and Sean McVay have a tendency in the fourth quarter to go ultra conservative. Like, oh, we're gonna punt the ball when we should go for it. Oh, we're gonna take the field goal instead of going for a touchdown. Like those are what wins. That's what wins and loses game. Like you have to make those decisions to win. I don't care about his quarterback. I mean, he's done pretty well without the quarterback. He has a great ass team, so you can cut that out of the way.
Yeah, I look at the job McVay got done this season with the team he has.
Yeah.
Now he's had some very good teams, but none of his teams, even with Aaron Donald in his prime, were as stacked as this 49ers team on both sides of the football.
Yep.
And if you just compare those two guys when it comes to like late game situations, who's the better play caller? That's neither here nor there. Shanahan, McVay. McVay's got one. McVay's actually been to 2 Super Bowls, matter of fact. Outside of that, I kind of trust McVay's game management.
Yeah.
A little bit better than Shanahan.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Yeah, I love what Shanahan does. Like he plays the stretch. I love the stretch. The stretch is you got athletic offensive linemen, basically big tight ends that are running and grabbing, getting under the chest plate, driving low, making the snot bubble come out of their nose once you hit the end of the bottom of the face mask, right? So I just like the stretch play, and then all of a sudden he'll do on the third or fourth play he'll do whatever the counter, right? And that's the way he does it. His first 15 plays are scripted, and it's to dominate the stretch play, and then he'll hit you on the cutback, and then they'll hit you on the play action. You got to stay home, and you can't take that cheese. Like Dan Campbell says, don't take that eye candy. Don't take that cheese. I'm surprised he hasn't set up a whole bunch of mouse traps in Allen Park yet. That was a good take.
Man,
I don't have very good takes, but that was a good take.
Yeah, Ayuk is a very good wide receiver. I don't think he's Mike Evans. I don't think he's CeeDee Lamb.
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson. He's not that big of a deep threat, even though he did average, 16 yards yards per catch, I believe. I just think the 49ers have a lot of talent on offense, but they're not built to just attack you vertically a lot the way a lot of teams attacked us. They like to play a lot of offense that's close to how we like to play a lot of offense.
Exactly.
And even with Debo being out there, even if Debo was healthy, I know what to expect from Debo. I know exactly what to expect. Yes, it's like George Kittle he's the biggest threat. And I'm not worried about him because Purdy won't give him the ball. Yep. You can go back and watch so many clips on film of him just looking off George Kittle for the check down to McCaffrey.
Absolutely.
Consistently. And you got Kittle getting up off the ground like, hey, I mean, we had a big play. C-Mac picked up 26 yards, so I can't complain too much. But hey, I was open. What the hell? If he was more in tune with George Kittle, I would be more concerned. But are we going to shut down the run? We've done it to everybody all season. Do I expect them to run for 180 or 240 on us? No, I don't. But for me, if they stop this rushing attack, we got it. I seriously believe we got it. Because if we stop this rushing attack, that means we dominated the line of scrimmage with those front guys. Now, does AG plan on incorporating some of those same blitz packages that he did, the creative blitz packages that he did last week against Tampa? I hope so. But you can also drop in and drop out. So I expect them to give Frisco a lot of different looks at the line of scrimmage, and then once the ball is snapped, it changes in the zone. Guys like Ifeatu Melifonwu, you bring him up in the blitz. You show blitz, once the ball is hiked, you drop him. You got to make sure you keep someone on Kittle, too. He won't throw Kittle the football unless Kittle is wide the hell open.
Who's going to cover him then? Well,
nobody, because we don't have a matchup for him.
So here's
but you know what to expect. He's not going to run anything but three different routes.
Joe and Walt, I'm gonna ask you the question. I'm gonna jump out and you guys talk about it. Is the Bucs front center, the front seven, better than? Because the Bucs have a great linebacking crew. You got Vita Vea in the middle. Yeah. Who is better? Because I haven't watched too many San Francisco games this year. I'm all Lions and I'm a Lions slappy. Sorry about that. But and the other question I want to ask you, I think it's too early and I don't want to jinx it, but with the Rams, who's going to win this trade, and what's it going to take for the Detroit Lions to win this trade? Is it a Super Bowl or multiple Super Bowls, or losing this game and then getting back here with a home game? I talk about it, guys, and I'm interested.
Yeah, I think here's the way you win the trade. To be honest, if you win the trade just by winning, like if the guys that you draft, if Melifonwu turns into be a stud, and obviously we've seen with Laporta, with Gibbs, though they look like studs already. If you get enough of those guys out of that trade, you're gonna win a Super Bowl. You're just gonna win a Super Bowl because you can't. That much talent just doesn't come, by accident, right? Brad Holmes, you don't just draft that much talent by accident. You have to draft talent that you see that fits your team. So, yeah, the Rams won a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, but with all the pieces that the Detroit Lions got out of that trade, I think that's going to win them a Super Bowl in the future. I do.
Yeah, I agree. I think in order to actually win the trade, you have to actually win.
Yeah.
Not just year after year hover around divisional round of the playoffs, NFC Championship, only to lose to Dallas or only to lose to Frisco and stuff like that. You need to get there and actually win one. Because if you look at it as long as we win one, I feel like we won the trade because we're better than the Rams now.
Yep.
We're more built to contend over the next few years than the Rams are. Not to say that the Rams can't turn it around immediately, because they do draft very well.
They do.
Considering the limited resources they've had over the past couple years.
Right.
And to answer the question about the defenses, as far as the front sevens, I don't even think it's close. I think Frisco's better. When everybody's healthy, Eric Armstead can play 0 tech. He can play 1. He can play 2. You got Dre Greenlaw at linebacker. You got the other guy. I always keep forgetting his name, man.
Fred Warner.
Yeah, Fred Warner. Yeah. For some reason, I always want to call him Baron Browning. For some reason, I don't know why, but yeah, Nick Bosa, he's a stud out there.
Yeah.
Javon Hargrave. Hargrave. So yeah, they've got a lot of studs in that front seven. So if we're comparing, and then guys are younger too. Even though Levante David, man, he made a play in the first quarter again.
I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was gone, bro. If he didn't make that play, Gibbs was going to the house.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Levante
still makes plays out there.
Where the question's very interesting. I think that Devin White and Levante David are really good linebackers, and I think they kind of cancel each other out. I do think Vita Vea is better than Eric Armstead. Now, where you got the kind of I don't know.
Depending on what you want in that defense.
It depends what your scheme is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They run two different schemes, but if I'm looking at a defensive tackle, like would I take Eric Armstead or would I take Vita Vea? Probably would take Vita Vea, to be honest. I think he's harder to run against. I think he creates more of a mismatch just because of his size. But ultimately, you look at the edge guys like Tryon Shonika or Shaquille Barrett even close to Nick Bosa? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So that's kind of where the cipher goes. I mean, if you're gonna let's just call it what it is. If you call linebacking core a spade, and you call a defensive tackle a spade, edge wins. So got to give it to San Francisco.
Yeah. Only thing I think, well, one main thing about Armstead and the production of him is why they went ahead and moved DeForest Buckner. And him and DeForest Buckner are damn near identical defensive tackles. Tall, long, lanky, athletic guys like that. Those type of guys have more versatility.
Yeah.
I think Buckner as well as Armstead both could play 3-4 defensive end because they can both run contain. They can both get to the sideline and stop the run. They both can apply pressure from the edges. Vita, we know exactly what Vita is. Vita's out there to play the 0, maybe a little bit of 1 every now and then, maybe a little bit of 1 eye, stop the run, take on double teams, disengage, control the A-gap. Now, depending on what your defensive philosophy is, yeah, Vita may be better. But like I said, guys like DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead, those guys are some big-time tone setters. And I think they just bring more versatility.
I kind of lean more towards Vita Vea just because of what he could do with the run game, the mismatch in the middle. I know
who would be better for us? Who would make this defensive line that much better next season?
Vita Vea.
Oh, shit. We got draft talk?
No, we're talking about either Vita Vea or DeForest Buckner. I mean, Vita Vea or Eric Armstead.
Vita Vea.
Even though I think DeForest Buckner is better than Armstead.
Vita Vea would make this. I think it would unleash Lee McNeil. That's what I think it would do.
I'd rather have a Lee McNeil than I'd rather have Lee McNeil than Vita Vea because he could actually get, what does he have, 5.5 sacks before he got hurt? And then he's always in there. He's got his nose in there. He's a Dan Campbell guy. This is what you want. Yeah, but what? Yeah. Oh, I love that. I should have screenshot that.
I say we need some difference maker. I don't care if it's Jazon Newton. I don't care if it's Buckner.
Okay.
I don't care if it's Chris Jones. Is Chris Jones a possibility this offseason?
Here's a real watch this. Watch this. Ready? And we are here with Joe Chapp and Walter Stringer with the Detroit Lions. With the Lions Avenue.
My name.
I know, Walter Stringer. With the Lions Avenue. These two are going to talk about the Detroit Lions in the draft offensive line. Let's go talk about it, guys.
Offensive line? You threw me for a loop with them.
Man, you threw me for a loop. Yeah.
Okay, so what are we going to do? Okay, let's talk about this. First pick in the draft. Usually we're Detroit Lions fans, right? We're already doing mock drafts for like 3 weeks already now, right? Who do you have? Walter Stringer with the Dancing Bear podcast defensive line coming up. Who are we going to draw? Because I do believe Jonah Jackson is gone. Jonah Jackson's gone, and we got to replace Frank Ragnow too. We have to have a backup for him because of the toe, knee, and another kind of tackle because Taylor Decker, he's getting long in the tooth, man. Do you want to pay him? You want to pay him?
No.
It's weird, man. We need a lot, but we don't need a lot.
I'm going to jump out. I want to hear what you guys say, what you're going to do in the draft. Talk about it, guys.
Well, I think edge is huge. We need another edge and a corner. Offensive guard, I'm not really worried about. I think that you can find an offensive guard that kind of fits this philosophy. You know what I'm saying? But no, I'm not paying Jonah Jackson anything because, to be honest, I wasn't really impressed with his play this year, to be honest.
I get it.
And I feel like those resources could be better used as going to get a corner, going to get a defensive tackle that could, rush the passer, maybe hold up blocks for Lee McNeil. Like, that's what I look at, because I think this defense is probably 1 to 2 pieces away from becoming like a damn good unit. You know, even if Aaron Glenn leaves, I still think they're going to be a damn good unit no matter what.
Yeah. I say they trade out, and I've been saying that for the past couple weeks when it became obvious that we were going to be picking at the bottom half of the first round. Unless they want to trade up for somebody that they really want, a lot can happen between now and the NFL now and the East-West Shrine Game, Senior Bowl, NFL Combine. Unless they just want to trade up for somebody, whether it's an edge rusher, a corner, a guard, even though they're not going to trade up for a guard in the first round, or a wide receiver for that matter. But I do think whether it's an interior defensive lineman, or it's a bigger edge rusher, or it's a smaller edge rusher, I think overall they just need another impact player within that front seven. I think Jack Campbell's going to eventually become that. He's only going to be as good as what they put around him as well. I think a lot of this, it latches on to other stuff, because if we lose Aaron Glenn, I think there's a good chance the 4-2-5 could go too, unless they bring in someone or they promote from within, someone that's going to keep running that defense. I would prefer to see, with the guys that we currently have, what we could go after in the draft, there's a lot of smaller edge rushers out there, guys in that 6'4", 250-pound range, 6'3", 240, guys who can really come off the edge and really create havoc. I would prefer to see a 3-4, honestly. I'm not the biggest fan of the 3-4, but I do believe, and I said this before the season began, if you look at the talent that we have on this team just this season, we have better players at linebacker than we have at defensive line. So in most cases, you want to show off what you have the most of, as far as the abundance of riches, so to speak. And the best thing that would be for us is to get all of those linebackers on the field as much as possible. Now, picking at 30, where they're at right now, you're talking about corner, edge rusher, maybe a guard or a tackle for that matter, or a tackle that can play some guard as well. But these are guys that you can also get in the second round. But I'm really in favor of just trading out of that 30 pick, man. Maybe picking up a second round pick, because once you reach the 20s, once those top 3 quarterbacks are gone, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May, there's going to be a run on the next group of quarterbacks. There's going to be teams that want to trade in from the top of the second round, at the end of the first round, night one, that's going to want that pick. So I say trade out of there, because we need a guard too. One guy that I think will be perfect for this offensive line core is Cooper Beebe of Kansas State. Super athletic, kind of heavy-footed a little bit though. But when you look at how Cooper Beebe's built, he's built that way. He's not going to be the most nimble-toed guy, but former wrestling champ when he was in high school. He's been offensive lineman of the year in the Big 12, I believe, the last 2 years. Doesn't give up any sacks, rarely gives up any pressures. He's a guy that, maybe in the draft in the 90s, when guards were being drafted in the top 20, back then, he would have been a first-round pick, a high first-round pick. But simply just because guards aren't, for whatever reason, they're not financially valued, but everyone in their right mind understands that you need quality guard play in the NFL, and if you don't have that, you don't have an offensive line. So, like I said, I'm in favor of getting out of 30, picking up an extra pick or two for that matter, just to make sure that we land one of the better guards, and also cornerback. I believe that depending on who turns out to be the top guys, I'm a big fan of Nate Wiggins. He's a little slim, but he plays very physical and aggressive out of Clemson. You can't trust the Clemson defensive lineman, but you can trust a Clemson corner every now and then. So, yep, Amon Salah says, let's go 49ers. Is that Robert Saleh's brother? Yeah.
Hey, Darcy, don't do that. Me and I, we did that, and that didn't end up pretty good. You give people the invite link, man. Ask Avery what happened. That was, that was wild. But no, I agree with what you're saying. I do think that they're gonna go in free agency and get a guard though, or a corner. And if you do want to trade that pick, your first round pick, I think Brad Holmes is gonna be aggressive enough where he's gonna go get like that starter, that's or an NFL player.
You think they'll move up?
I think he's gonna go trade it for a guy who's ready to come in.
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna, I look at the draft right now and I see how good that Brad Holmes does in the draft. And if he wants to go all LA Rams and trade a couple picks and get a cornerback like Patrick Surtain or something like that, I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying? If he wants to go get the kid from Carolina, J.C. Horn or someone like that, I'm all for it. I think that this defense is one player away from like becoming a really good unit, especially at the cornerback or edge level. And I really put the edge ahead of the guard. Guard position, I think, you can find good guards late in the draft, the third, fourth, fifth round, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not really worried about that. And now if Chapp Robinson was available at pick 30 or pick 31 or 32, which I doubt he's going to be, that's the guy I would pick all day long. But I don't know. I just think that this draft coming up is going to be so chaotic, especially with all the quarterbacks coming out. I think this could be one of the best quarterback classes in a while, even though I'm really not sold on any of these quarterbacks besides Drake May in terms of pro potential. But I don't know, man. I like the defensive tackles in this draft, though.
Right. So we're on the topic of quarterbacks. So, Joe, what are you going to pay your guy? What are you going to pay him? Because realistically, why don't we just like franchise tag him next year? He's got the whole year to play this in 2024 season.
I'm going to tell you this right now, Darcy.
Okay, no. Listen to me. We're going to create healthy competition, right? I'm going to get you a Hendon Hooker jersey. We're going to go to training camp, and you get me a golf jersey. Okay.
Man, unless you feel like Hendon Hooker is really that damn good, you're going to really make this man compete for his damn job.
See, the problem
after
is,
he just won 2 playoff games, something you've never seen. Wait a minute, no, I've never.
No,
seen
I've seen it.
You're older than me. Something I've never seen. I just.
But listen. Okay, Joe, you live at home, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I own a mortgage and I'm a GM of my house, right? I'm a cheap ass. If we drafted the number 2 quarterback in last year's draft, right? Yeah. Why would we just let him? What? We're just going to let him be on the practice squad, emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
Are you basically saying, Brad Holmes, you're a dumbass for drafting?
Listen, they didn't spend a first round pick on him. They spent a third on him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But he was first round, ready to go.
No, you went a third round. It's like, okay, I'm going to give it to you like this.
Okay.
Hendon Hooker, he was a third round pick for a reason, because there was 32 teams that passed on him over 2 times. This is a league that needs quarterbacks, and if you want to repeat the same mistakes you did with Eric Kramer, because if you would have stuck with Eric Kramer or went with Warren Moon or Joe Montana, that could have been your alternative. But you decided to go with let's risk it for the biscuit with this rookie quarterback. Fine, but here's the thing: if you are going to franchise tag him, you're going to pay more at the end. You are going to pay more at the end. Do you understand that the Packers right now are prepared to give Jordan Love a huge ass contract? Like, you got to pay him before Jordan Love gets his contract. You got to pay him before Dak Prescott gets his new contract, because you don't want to be last to the party, because you're going to be paying more. That's why I'm all in favor of paying him. He's won it over.
No, hang on. Yeah. How much are you willing to pay? Because I really like the 30 mil contract right now. You want to pay him 50? You want to pay him
He
50?
said 30,
Guess what?
30
We're going to play whack-a-mole. We're going to play whack-a-mole. Boop, boop, boop. Everything with that we built up, getting this draft capital, getting our starting quarterback for the
Listen.
next fucking 10 years, and you're going to say whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole. Hang on, no, you're next.
Okay, so I'm not the biggest Jared Goff fan. I am a supporter. Darcy, you said you're not a supporter. I'm not the biggest Jared Goff fan, but I will say this. If the man deserves it, he deserves it. And for even the biggest Jared Goff haters out there, what do you want to see that will make you believe he deserves to get paid? Like at the beginning of the season, before the season started, when we were having this discussion, a lot of Lions fans said, well, Jared's got to win the division. Okay, well, he won the division. Well, that ain't it. He's got to win a playoff game. Well, he won a playoff game. Well, now he's got to win 2. Well, he's won 2. So what if he beats Frisco and they go to the Super Bowl? Whether they win the Super Bowl or not, what do you need to see from this man that will make you say, okay, you know what, I believe in him? What if they win the Super Bowl? Are the biggest Jared Goff haters going to turn around and say, well, you know what, he won the Super Bowl, but he still ain't worth it.
Yeah,
at some point in time, you got to pay somebody. If somebody's telling you, and I think this is a big problem we have as sports fans. A lot of times as fans, once we make up our mind about someone, we don't want to ever go back on it. Like nobody ever wants to be wrong. Therefore, you got too many people out here that will rather double down on wrong takes instead of just saying, you know what, I didn't give this guy a chance. Maybe he's better than I thought he was. Maybe I was wrong. And like I said, that's the big issue with a lot of sports fans out here is that none of us want to be wrong. And people would rather double down on bad takes and, well, if I didn't like you 3 years ago, I can't go back on it, so I got to continuously not like you. If the man performs well, which he did last year, and after he performed last year, what did people say? Well, he got to follow it up. Anybody can have one good year. He had a better year this year than he had last year. If the team keeps winning, I don't care. I don't give a damn if he's not throwing 70-yard lasers down the field. He's not the sexiest quarterback out there when it comes to what you want to see on the field. He's not doing no-look passes and throwing off platform and changing arm angles. He ain't doing none of that sexy shit. But he's winning. And if he's winning and playing well, why doesn't he deserve to get paid? Darcy.
You're muted.
Darcy telling me off.
Sorry. Thanks. Well, I love you, man. You're the best. Like,
I'm just wondering. I'm not a big fan of the dude either, but at some point in time, you got to stop hating on people. That's what bothers me about like some of this fan base. I can stand right in the middle. I can see on the left side the people that overly love Goff, and I can see on the right side the people that are just overly critical of everything he does. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I was wrong. Now, we don't have to say that yet because he could go out and he could have a bad game against Frisco. But this idea that I'm never going to give you a chance because I remember what you were with the Rams, and that's what I'm going to hold you to for the rest of your life. It doesn't have to be that way. The dude could be better here with us in a better system with a better overall team for his skill set, and we could continue to win for the next 4 or 5 years. Does anyone really expect Goff to go out next year and just look like he never played a damn down of football?
No.
The way Matt Schaub fell off the face of the earth. Remember one season, not even one season, that final couple seasons with Houston, he just went out there and just started just turning the ball over left and right. Same thing with Carson Palmer. So I don't expect him to go out there and just look terrible. As long as this coaching staff stays intact, which is key too, and they keep people around him, I see no reason why you wouldn't pay the dude if he's getting you to where you need to go.
So this is a whole dilemma. Matthew Stafford was my favorite quarterback of all time. All time.
Lion all time.
No. Overall.
Oh, you mean all time?
All time.
No.
Number one.
Oh, okay. All right.
For me to burn his jersey last, you saw that, didn't you see that? I burned
Burned his
Matthew
jersey?
Stafford's jersey. So for me to go and burn Matthew Stafford's jersey, you got to realize we gave up so much for him. And we all said, even Walt said, I think Lamar said, he is a bridge quarterback. And he was a bridge quarterback. We're going to get all these picks and we're going to draft our next quarterback. All of a sudden, Ben Johnson comes along and we start winning all of our last games. And we could have went and, we would have been a dominant force in the playoffs last year. We were better than the Vikings. We were better than the fucking Giants that were in the playoffs, that Dable got Coach of the Year, which he didn't deserve. Everybody said Dan Campbell deserved that, but you're not in the New York media. So now they're all coming, and you saw John Maakaron on here. Oh, they're all coming here because Dan Gamble and Brad Holmes and Sheila Fordham, and most of all is Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman started this whole fucking thing. Do you realize on Thanksgiving 3.5 years ago, I used to talk to Chris Spielman all the time, and I messaged it. I said, do something. And you know me, I'm illiterate, right? I laid it out, everything, gave me a thumbs up, gave it out again. I went on all my platforms, not on Joe's platform, but my platforms, went to Danny Leach's, when all that said, and I compared because Iserman was just hired just before that. And I said, here's the next Iserman. Right? Chris Spielman came in here, and guess what? We are the final four of podcasters here. We're the last guys standing in these podcast situations and shit like this. Joe has hit 71,000. How does he do that? Because maybe San Francisco guys are coming here. This is great. I love you all. I love Joe. Thank you for giving me the platform, my little soapbox with the 4 viewers that we were watching. But I just want to say thank you. What was my point?
What the hell did that have to do with Jared Goff?
He's deflecting blame, baby.
You trailed off, Darcy.
I got ADD. I'm a truck driver, so I'm a professional radio listener. We all said that he was a bridge quarterback and he was going to be gone. So when our guy, Brad Holmes, drafted Hendon Hooker, which should have been a first-round draft pick, right? I had multiple guys coming on here say Hendon Hooker is number 2, even over Bryce Young. I had, Bryce Young. So my point is, why would our savior, our guy, put us in an NFC Championship game, waste a 3rd-round pick on somebody who's never going to play? Talk about a joke.
Because these good franchises, they draft for backups too. They don't really. You could draft a backup. I mean, look what Pittsburgh did with Mason Rudolph. They drafted him. I mean, look. You could sit here all day long and you could talk about Hendon Hooker being the future. People talking about Hendon Hooker, how he can be legit or whatever. I look at Hendon Hooker as like just what I said. He could be a great backup. He could be like a Teddy Bridgewater. And that's who he's learning off of. I think Jared Goff, the one thing I do like about Jared Goff is he is a leader. That's number 1 that you want out of your quarterback. And number 2, he's proven it. And I wouldn't be saying extend him if he didn't prove it. I wouldn't just be like notoriously defending the guy if he didn't prove it. I told you before the playoff, this is where he earns his extension. And now that he's earned it, there's no going back. You got to pay the guy because not only this is what it does. If you don't pay the guy, let's say the Lions said, no, we're going to go on to Hendon Hooker. It sets such a bad precedent inside that locker room that you're getting rid of a locker room leader, a guy that they all love and they want as their quarterback, because you think that someone else is better. And if that doesn't go well, if Hendon Hooker is not anywhere close to Goff, your job as a general manager, Brett Holmes, is gone. It's done. There's no general manager that's going to make that decision. I know people can go back to Patrick Mahomes with Alex Smith. Totally different situation. Patrick Mahomes was a first-round pick. I know people go back to Lamar Jackson, first-round pick. Aaron Rodgers was a first-round pick. If you look at these non-first-round drafted quarterbacks past the second round, the hit rate is very, very low. And you get guys like Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott and Tom Brady. Like, that's what you get. The rest of it's kind of like mush. You know what I'm saying? So all these people, they want to talk about Hendon Hooker, fine, but for me, Jared Goff's proven it, and that's why you got to extend him. And I don't care. It's going to be, when people see the number that he gets, it's going to be shocking. But guess what? He earned it, number one. Number two, you pay your quarterback, and then over time, that quarterback deal gets less and less restrictive. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be more quarterbacks that are going to come along the line, and they're going to get the next highest number. And the next thing you know, Jared Goff is 11th in the league, 12th in the league, 13th in the league. And you want to get it before Jordan Love, because I was listening to Packers radio for non-apparent reasons, and they were talking about Jordan Love getting like 40, getting near what Russell Wilson got, which was $48.5 million. So that's where it's going to start. And I wouldn't be shocked if Jared Goff gets like 49 mil a year.
You can also see the difference-making ability that a guy like Jordan Love has as well.
Yeah.
Another thing, too, people need to understand things change. And as a GM, you can't be stubborn. I understand what the original plan was. Okay, you got to realize, too, the original plan was based off of what we last saw from Jared Goff with the Rams. That's what it was based off of. Shit changes.
Yep.
Now, if you want to have tunnel vision and you want to still feel like, no, this guy can't be this good. I don't care if he led us to an NFC Championship. I don't care if we won a Super Bowl with him. I'm moving on from him. Those are stubborn GM practices.
And you don't got
that type of mindset to get your ass fired.
Exactly.
If you can't realize what you have in front of you and you so stuck on what you want things to be, that's how your ass get fired. Now, when you compare like Hendon Hooker, I was never buying the number 2 quarterback shit. I like Hendon Hooker, but when you compare Hendon to the other guys that got drafted ahead of him, all of those guys have more mega physical skill sets.
Yep.
CJ Stroud, better physical skill set. Not so much Bryce Young, but Bryce Young was getting drafted pretty much off the intangibles, the intelligence, and everything, this and that stuff. Anthony Richardson, super athletic freak, mondo abilities. Who else? Even a guy that I wasn't that high on, Will Levis. I'm not the biggest Will Levis fan, but you can see Will Levis' talent. You can see the arm ability.
Yep.
Now, Hendon Hooker put up some major stats at Tennessee within that offense, but I was never buying Hendon Hooker as the second best quarterback in this past draft. Not at all. I didn't see the physical skill set from him. And it matters. If people say it doesn't matter, let's go back in history. Look at the all-time greats. Aside from Montana, who wasn't physically great, or Brady, who wasn't physically great, all the other greats, Peyton wasn't either. But all the rest of them had, whether it was Elway or Luck, I can't really put Luck in that, but Elway, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, all of those guys have super physical skill sets.
Yeah.
Not to say that you have to have that, but typically those are the guys. Why do you think the big arm quarterback always gets drafted higher than he should?
Right.
Or the quarterback that looks good in a t-shirt and a pair of shorts and can throw a football 80 yards and can also run 4 or 5.
Looking at you, Malik Willis. Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I just think that, like I said, man, I try to be as balanced as possible on this shit, man, because it's like a lot of times as a fan, you find yourself either on one side of the room or the other. people want you to be on one side of the room or the other. You either hate them or you love them. You can't be in between. Why not? There's a gray area to all of this shit. And like I said, most people just don't want to be wrong.
Right.
I didn't like them back then, and I can't like them today. And that's stubborn. Look how people treat AG.
Yeah.
AG could go out and shut out San Francisco Sunday, and the people who don't like him are still going to nitpick. Yeah, well, you know, that 42-yard Ayuk play. It's going to always be something.
It's just the way it goes. I look at it like this. Like, you brought up a good example of all the good, you know, the physical quarterbacks that, you know, like the Richardson and Stroud and, you know, those guys. You know, Bryce Young's not overly physical, but he's got some playmaking ability. But I look at it like this. When I watched Hendon Hooker at Tennessee, the one thing I really struggled with when I watched him, he was great at throwing the deep ball. But those short to intermediate routes, he struggled badly on. And if he didn't have Jalen Hyatt or Cedric Tillman going over that middle, he wasn't hitting them. And that concerns me because that's your bread and butter. I don't care about you being a quarterback and you could throw 1,000,000 yards. We've seen Jamarcus Russell. We've seen quarterbacks that could throw 1,000,000 yards. And when they need to make those short intermediate routes, the plays along the sidelines, the out routes, you know, the slants, that's what wins you ball games. And I know Jared Goff doesn't have the goddamn arm. I know he doesn't have the arm. But you don't need the arm. Like, you really don't. Like, in the grand scheme of things, if you look back at the overwhelming quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, there's been a couple of quarterbacks that have had an extraordinary arm. And then there's guys that could just place the ball at the right spots. They get it to their wide receivers. They let them make plays. And the guy that said this is a guy that played quarterback in the NFL, Boomer Esiason. He said Joe Montana didn't have the best arm out of anybody. But the thing that he did really, really well is he knew where his wide receivers were going to be. He threw it in an area where his wide receivers could catch it, and he made it easy on them. And that's what I look at with Jared Goff. I don't care. Like, look, you just said it, Walt. A lot of these people, they go back on what their opinion was at the beginning, right? But I look at a guy like Steve Eisman with the Red Wings, and he realized 3 years in the rebuild, okay, these prospects are taking a little bit of time. I need to get some veterans in here that could, you know, help us win. And then when the prospects are ready, we can bring them up. He changed his identity. He really wanted to go with the prospects, but guess what? The prospects told him, and the play on the ice told him, you got to go a different direction. And the best general managers make those decisions saying, look, I thought I was going to go with the quarterback that I drafted, but I look at this guy, Jared Goff. He's doing a hell of a good job. And he's the guy. He's the guy. That's what you look at. Like, you can't, like you said, Walt, you said it perfectly. A lot of people don't want to admit their mistakes, or they don't want to admit that when they're wrong. And I think the best general managers, the best coaches, the best businessmen, the best anything, when they look at themselves in the mirror, they can admit when they're wrong. They can admit what they did wrong in that sense. And that's what I look at with Brett Holmes.
You know, I also feel like you have to be able to compartmentalize how important is a player for your particular team. Now, can we stop judging Jared Goff on the grand scheme of he's not Josh Allen, and he's not Patrick Mahomes, and he's not Justin Herbert, and he's not even like prime Russell Wilson. Like, Russell Wilson was physically talented. He could throw the football a mile. He could scramble. He was athletic. He could run. He's not any of those guys. So therefore, he doesn't deserve the money. None of those dudes are winning shit right now except for Patrick Mahomes. So do they deserve the money?
Yep.
Like, let's be honest about it. Can we start paying these quarterbacks based off what they do for your particular team? Now, overall, if you're talking about paying this man $50 million a year and, but he's up there with Mahomes, and that's not fair because he's not as good as him. What does it matter if you're winning? Jared Goff could be the same bland personality guy that he is. I wouldn't give a damn if we win 2 of the next 6 Super Bowls. But people just can't get past, well, in order to make this type of money, you got to be this. You got to be a super physical talent. Like, no, you need to win.
Yeah.
You need
I
to
don't-
win.
I don't-
People will have no issue with Jimmy Garoppolo if he won.
Mhm.
He never won, and he kept shitting the bed every time he got put in big moments. That's why he's gone. So, like I said, as long as Goff is playing at a high level and this team is winning 11, 12, 13 games and getting deep into the playoffs, why doesn't he deserve to get paid?
Exactly. That's my point.
And this is coming from somebody who, Josh Allen is my type of quarterback. Jared Goff ain't. Goff, I mean, not Goff, but Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Anthony Richardson. I like my quarterbacks, big, athletic, playmaking, guys who can improvise, make things happen. Difference makers, physical difference makers on their own. You can have a guy like Joe Burrow ain't that type of guy. Joe Burrow has a pretty decent arm. He's pretty mobile for a guy his size and whatnot. He's not athletic like that, but he can get out there and scoot a little bit. He's a solid decision maker. He got balls of steel. There's not a moment on the field that he's ever intimidated by the situation.
Right.
And he's also surrounded by a lot of talent. Now, we're going to find out a lot about Joe, too, next year. We're going to find out a lot because Boyd probably going to be gone. Higgins is going to be gone. They're going to need to draft a tight end. They're going to need to draft some offensive linemen. We don't know about Joe Mixon. Joe's going to be coming off missing with the final. He missed the final 11 games of this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So we're going to find out a lot about Joe Burrow, too, because I was talking to someone about him a few days ago, and James Jones on NFL Network. Is it NFL Network? No, it's not NFL Network. James Jones said that the Buffalo Bills would be better with Joe Burrow, that Joe Burrow would take that same exact roster to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And I got to thinking about this. If Joe was put in that same situation where he had to be the reason, let's be honest about it now. Joe went from LSU, where he had 4 first-round picks at wide receiver. He had a hell of a solid defense. Stingley Jr. was out there. He had a lot of talent on the LSU team. Joe has never been put in a situation. I love Joe Burrow. Joe has never been put in a tight squeeze.
No.
Unless you want to talk about the O-line. But even the year that they went to the Super Bowl, his defense played out of their minds in that playoff series, that playoff run against the Raiders, the Titans, and then the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. When guys are put in situations where they have to be the reason, you find out a lot about them. And I think a lot of Josh Allen's mental makeup comes from the fact that he had to be the reason in high school. He was the best player on his team in high school. He was the best player on his team in JUCO. He for damn sure was the best player on his team in Wyoming.
Yep.
Everywhere Josh Allen has been, he's been required to be the reason his team wins.
Yeah.
So when quarterbacks you develop the mindset of, I got to do this because this is what I've always done. This is who Josh Allen is.
Right.
So you got to take the good with the bad. That's why when I heard James Jones make that comment, I'm thinking, okay, the same Joe Burrow that's never played 16 games this season. Joe kind of fragile too.
Yeah.
Joe's kind of fragile.
No, I think you're right about that. I think, obviously Josh Allen coming from Wyoming, coming from a small high school, coming from a JUCO, going to Buffalo. He's had some good players there. He's had, some Diggs and Gabe Davis, and, I think Dalton Kincaid's a hell of a tight end, but
yeah, I think he's going to be.
I look at it like this with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow, if you want a leader, he's a good leader. I think he's, he can get it done when you ask him to. You're right about him being a little bit fragile.
2 seasons into injuries in his first 4 years. And
Josh Allen, he's the opposite. He's kind of like an Iron Man, and he's going to be like Brett. I think he's more like Brett Favre than people realize, And I know people glorified, Brett Favre as, he was like one of the greatest of all time, and he was one of the greatest of all time. But, those quarterbacks that, they come up through these small schools, sometimes they develop this mindset of, I have to do it or no one does it. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what scares you about some of these quarterbacks that, come through these small schools, because there's tendencies that you develop going through.
They don't always play well with others.
Right. And that's what you got to worry about. like a guy like Patrick Mahomes, like, I mean, he did decent at Texas A&M, Texas Tech, but I think the development with Andy Reid helped him out a lot. And I think sitting helped him a lot too. I think that Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre, that helped him a lot too, because Cal's not really like this known school. You know, they've gave out some really good quarterbacks, but they're not like this school where you go tons of talent there, right? Not LSU, it's not
remember,
Alabama.
they got a bad who was it? Tedford, at Cal. His quarterbacks got a bad reputation.
Yeah.
Prior to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. But
So.
you know what? You just that's kind of what you deal with. And I know people want to trash on Josh Allen, and it's kind of, I hate this. I hate the way the media is doing this now, and I see it with fans all the time, and
it's wrong.
It just
some of the
pisses
shit that they're doing is wrong, and I know exactly why they're doing it.
It just pisses me off because they compare every quarterback to Patrick Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? Patrick Mahomes is 1-of-1. Say what you want about everyone else, like Mahomes will go down as one of the greatest of all time, in my opinion. He will go down as one of the greatest of all time. And I think that all these pundits, they like to say, well, he ain't doing what Mahomes does, and he ain't doing what Brady does. And it's like, guys, you gotta stop comparing them. Like, they're 1-of-1. Like, those guys are rare, man. Those guys don't come along. They don't come around long. You know what I'm saying? I had this conversation with a Cowboy fan, and I was very interested. I'm very interested to hear what you say, Walter. But he said that if Troy Aikman wouldn't have had Michael Irvin, wouldn't have had Emmitt Smith, what kind of quarterback would he really be? Would he be the same quarterback that won a Super Bowl, a couple Super Bowls with the Cowboys?
Probably not.
And that's what I'm saying. That, like, in the end, football is a team game. I don't care how you slice it. You know, as good as Patrick Mahomes is, look what he's doing with, you know, no wide receiver help. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team game, and I hate when, you know,
I will say this though. I think Troy played in a different era where it was still predicated off the run game. Look at that Dallas offensive line, and look what Jimmy Johnson wanted to do and Switzer wanted to do.
I think we're going back to that era, though. I really do. I think with these quarterbacks coming into the NFL right now, really not really totally polished, if we're gonna say that. I mean, take away CJ Stroud. How many
can't play? Period. They can't. They don't. A lot of them didn't learn shit in college because these college offenses didn't get them prepared to do anything.
Take away CJ Stroud. How many players have came in the NFL as rookies and played absolutely phenomenal?
Andrew Luck.
You're going back 10 years, man. Like, that's just what it is. Like, I look at these quarterbacks coming in the league and I go, okay, I think that Brett Holmes was onto something with this run game, because I think we're going back to that. Like, if you really want to look at the four best teams right now in the playoffs right now. Chiefs, Pacheco, I mean, he can run. You look at the Ravens, they can run the ball. 49ers can run the ball. And the Lions can run the ball. And how many of those quarterbacks do you say are they like the elite of the elite? Mahomes, Jackson, that's it.
Yeah. Remember back in the day, you used to hear old school coaches say, as soon as they in their presser, as soon as they take over as head coach of a football team, we're going to run the ball and we're going to stop the run. Now, that was cliche back in the day, but it still holds weight because, like I said, I brought the Colts up. People wonder how in the hell did they win 9 games? The offensive line was finally healthy this season, pretty much for the first time like the last 3 years. And they're always good on the defensive side of the ball, on at least the defensive line. Overall, as a unit, they've been pretty good, even though they give up some passing yards. But like I said, and they did that with Minshew. I think they set Anthony Richardson down. He had the shoulder surgery, I think, was it after week 5, I believe? 6, something like that. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. The ceiling for the Colts is based upon how good Anthony Richardson turns out to be. But I agree with you 100%. And a caveat with that, we're getting back to, I think we're going to start seeing guards taken in the first round more now.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to run the football, you got to have an offensive line.
And centers, too.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, it could be going back to that. I agree
Because
with you. Looking at the quarterback situation, the transfer portal, and I was talking to someone about this the other day. As much as I like it for college football, it's going to turn around some teams that were terrible. Michigan State can go from being terrible to maybe being a 9-win team this season, maybe.
Yeah,
Or a
decent.
10-win
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to hurt the draft.
No,
Because
I think
look at these quarterbacks that are on their second or third school and haven't even played a damn down of football yet.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was talking to someone, and he was a former quarterback at a Big Ten school, and he told me this, Walton. You're gonna agree with this 100%, but he told me these quarterbacks that are jumping from school to school to school, why are they jumping from school to school to school? Is it because they can't earn a starting position right away, or their inability to compete, or what is it? Because the reality of the situation is this: back in the day, you had to compete for your spot, compete to play, compete to stay. You know what I'm saying? And now these quarterbacks have jumped from school to school to school to school, and it's really going to hamper their development because they're going from system to system to system to system to system, and they're learning new players, and it's like,
and then there's no film on you.
There's no film on you, and then next thing you know, you're playing with guys that you're like, where did I get these guys? Oh, I just transferred to them because I wanted to go play for a starter, play as a starter.
They're leaving for all types of weird reasons. Now, if you want to leave Texas A&M because Florida State offered you $8 million in NIL money, that's one thing.
Right.
And then some of these players are leaving, jumping from school to school, especially the quarterbacks, because they understand they don't have an NFL future. And if you're one of those quarterbacks that don't have an NFL future, why not cash out a little bit before you do leave college? I think,
that's what I say with these quarterbacks, man. I just even these quarterbacks that coming out this year, like with Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels and JJ McCarthy. I think they all have tendencies to be good quarterbacks, but I think every one of them has some significant flaws.
I just don't get for some of these dudes, what the hell are you looking for? Like, you got guys transferring out of a school because their position coach left, or they transferring because the head coach left, or they're transferring because two of their buddies left, or they were forced to transfer. Well, since my homeboys had to transfer, I don't want to be here anymore. It's like dudes are leaving for some of the most weirdest reasons. And then they get to the next school. Oh, I got to compete here? Right. Oh, I don't like this quarterback coach, or me and him bumping heads, or they're doing themselves a disservice. And I was talking to someone about this the other day. Watch how the bus rate goes through the roof the next couple drafts.
I agree.
And it's not just the quarterbacks. The wide receivers are jumping schools constantly from system to system. The DBs are jumping schools constantly from system to system. Some of these dudes, man, and I was going through my my draft database, going through some film earlier, and they have all the players lined up with their ages and schools, transferred via this, transferred via that. Some of these dudes been at 3 schools and only got 3 games worth of film. How in the hell is anybody going to evaluate you? I got to go back to 2021 to find film on you, bro.
It goes to tell you, man.
Class of 2018. What kind of shit is this? Class of 2018. You only got 3 games of film?
This transfer portal, man, it's wild, man. Like I go back to, Jim Harbaugh just left Michigan today. And I look at all these coaches that are leaving college football, leaving college basketball, and I don't blame them. I don't freaking blame them at all. If you think about it, Jim Harbaugh is smart, because why the hell would I want to want to recruit my own kids at Michigan? Then I got to go recruit more kids, tell them that they're special, tell them that they're great. And then next thing you know,
them all, tell them that you're going to play.
Oh, you're going to be the best wide receiver we've ever had, or the best quarterback we've ever had. And then you got to go on to the transfer portal and be like, you're going to be a first round pick. And it's like, that I talked to a guy who, he's a Division I basketball coach locally around here, and he said the transfer portal is the worst thing to happen to college sports, because you have to recruit your own roster all the time, because they're getting poached. Especially if you're a mid-major, and especially in college basketball, you're getting poached. If you have a guy that, you know, he can go to Duke or he can go to, you know, or Ohio State or Alabama in football and make money, he's going to get poached. That's what happened to Jahmyr Gibbs. So I look at this whole college transfer portal thing, and I look at the way it's used, especially with some of these guys. You said it, like 3 transfers and your class of 2019. I don't know, man. That's someone that I'm really not going to draft, because it just tells me like you ain't willing to compete. You know what I'm saying? That's what it tells me. And
Look
it
at
might
Tyler
be
Show.
right.
He was supposed to have been in the COVID draft.
Right.
That's how long his ass been around.
And it's funny to me because, like, if we go back and we go, okay, Amon-Ra St. Brown, when they drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown, if the transfer portal would have been around, do you think he would have transferred a million times? No.
Nah, he don't come across as that type of dude.
No. So those types of dudes, that's what you're going to be looking for. You're going to be looking for, that's why it's very important for like guys like Brad Holmes and these general managers draft character, because I mean, as much as people don't want to say it, and as much as they want to, you know, they want to laugh about it or think that it's not serious or think that character is just something that, you know, it's a culture thing or whatever. It's very important, because if you get the wrong guy in there, let's say you get like a guy that's not ready to compete, he don't want to compete, he don't want to show his ability to compete, you're going to have trouble, you know, keeping these guys around. And that's this college sports and this transfer portal. That's what it's really going to do to sports. It's going to create a bunch of kids that go into the NFL. They're unprepared to go in the NFL and compete. They're unprepared to be signed to a 4-year contract where they literally have to be there and they have to play to get another contract. They're not going to be ready for that. And I think that's what's going to really, you said about the bust rate, that's what's going to change the bust rate.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't get the ball this time. Oh shit, I'm transferring, bro. You in NFL, you can't transfer.
Yeah, I think a lot of these kids just doing themselves a disservice. There's positives to it,
right?
I believe, and there's definitely negatives to it. Another, because we're giving a lot of responsibility to 19 and 20-year-olds.
And let's be honest, like, Walt, you know as well as I do, bro. These kids ain't getting the best advice. They really ain't. You know,
they're not. Families tell, because you know the family want to see them in the NFL. Well, you ain't got to stay at Alabama. Go ahead and transfer to Georgia Tech, where you can be a big fish in a small pond, and you can dominate over there. Then you get to Georgia Tech, and you find out that they recruited 4 more wide receivers, 1 from Florida State, 1 from Miami of Ohio, 1 from Texas A&M. It's like there's no perfect situation, and I remember how irrational I was at 19, and how I was at 20.
Right.
And you're given a lot of freedom. Now, granted, at the age, once you graduate from high school, you're grown. Pretty much, you go off to college. You have the right. They have the right to make whatever decisions they want. The problem is, they're not. A lot of these kids aren't mature enough. I don't care what anybody says. If you play for 3 schools in college, that's a lack of maturity.
Yep.
Whether you got put out of those schools for issues, or you just kept transferring because they're going to sit these kids down in these interviews too. That's the thing. Another thing that these kids aren't understanding. Once you finally do get to the NFL draft process and you got to go through a shitload of interviews, they're going to ask you, so class of 2018, you were at Florida, you were at Miami of Ohio, Vanderbilt, Texas Tech. What happened?
Right.
How do you answer that? Well, I didn't get along with the running backs coach at Vanderbilt. And then when I went to Florida State, you know how it is. It just didn't mesh right. And then I was like, those are multiple red flags that you're going to have to answer for. There's no good way to tell somebody I played at 4 schools in 4 years.
Right. No, there's not. That's what I'm getting to. Like, these people are gonna go to the NFL draft. They're gonna get questioned why they were at 4 schools in 4 different years, and they're gonna be like, well, you know, I just didn't get along with the quarterback coach, or I didn't get along with the offensive line coach, or
the scheme wasn't right.
The scheme wasn't right, and then these guys, as a general manager, as a pro scout, you're gonna be like, cross this guy the fuck out, dude.
Or
this
the,
guy,
the,
this
the
guy,
OC play favorites.
right? The OC for the team that's interviewing him gonna be like, hell no, get him out of here. Like, I ain't drafted. You shouldn't draft him either. Like, I just think that this whole transfer portal, like, I look at Harbaugh leaving Michigan to go to LA. I look at Saban leaving. I just look at all these coaches leaving, and I go, it's part of the transfer portal. It's part of the NIL. Like, NIL is great, but like, there's no parameters to this shit. Like, it's all like wild west. You know what I'm saying? Even in the NFL, we have parameters on salary caps and everything like that. College sports, you have nothing. You ain't. There's no rules, and you know what happens with no rules with the kids? It's a shit show. That's what's happening.
Yeah, and it's really another dude, Keaton Slovis. Like somebody, he was another dude that was supposed to have been in the year after the COVID draft, man. Like I said, I like the portal for the simple fact that some of these kids just went to bad situations.
Right.
Let's say they signed to
Georgia Tech.
You
like
signed to
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Georgia. Yeah, I don't know the reasons why he signed to Georgia Tech. I'm not gonna speculate shit. I just found it strange that he did go to Georgia Tech. But I found it strange that Calvin went to Georgia Tech too. But guys go to these schools for a variety of different reasons. I've heard that sometimes you could be a girlfriend may have went to that school, maybe family went to that school, maybe mom wanted them to stay close to home and they wanted mom to be able to see them come see them play. There's a lot of reasons why guys go to certain schools, but it's one good thing the portal does do. It wipes out the ability for these schools to handcuff these kids there for 3 years.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah.
Maybe I chose the wrong school. Maybe I committed to Alabama when I was in 10th grade. Now I'm a senior, and I realize, you know what? Bama's got a log jam at quarterback. Bryce Young is a freshman. Just think about it. I'm going to set this situation up. Let's say Bryce Young is a freshman. And once he gets to Alabama, he's starting.
Yeah.
Or Mac Jones is there. You signed with Alabama when they got Jalen Milroe, Mac Jones, and Bryce Young. Now you're a senior. What is my chances of playing at Alabama? Look how long it took Carson Beck to get on the field.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean...
It's very small, man.
Yeah. I mean, let's not get it twisted either. It's these kids' dream to play in the NFL.
Right.
Not to become a physicist.
At the same time, making irrational decisions, and being able to do what you want is kind of that is a detriment to you too as well, because if you're going like, oh, I'm not playing at Texas, right? I'm a wide receiver. I'm not playing at Texas. I'm going to go to, let's say you go to Michigan State, right? And then you go to Michigan State and you go, screw them. They don't know how to use me either. And then, you go, then you're like, screw Michigan State. They don't know how to use me. I'm going to go back to Georgia. Oh shit. They got a guy like Brock Bowers. Screw them too. Like, it's like, that's the detriment of it. Yeah. The transfer portal has been good. And, Ken said it, we already talked about it. Like Jim Harbaugh went. He went to LA, and this is the reason why. Like this is the reason why that Jim Harbaugh went to LA. He doesn't have to deal with these kids that are immature as hell. He's going to coach some pros, and that's more fun than college football right now. Like college football is ridiculous, and for the draft, in terms of the draft, like we talk about, there's going to be a high bust rate just because these players are going from school to school to school. Like we said, they're not competing to play. They're kind of leaving whenever things get hard. And when you get to the NFL, it's going to be totally different. You're going to be locked into a contract. You're not going to be able to leave. You're going to have to compete. And I don't think some of these kids are mentally strong to do that.
You think some of these coaches are telling these kids, hey, listen, I got such and such coming in. He's going to start as a true freshman. You see Kyle McCord got the hell out of there immediately.
Right.
Out of Ohio State. If coaches are telling guys like, listen, we're bringing in such and such 5-star quarterback, he's going to be the starter next year. Pack your shit. I would honestly respect the coach more for telling me that.
instead of bringing him on the
gassing
roster.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna remember how Harbaugh and them did. What's his name that went to Iowa, the quarterback that went to Iowa.
Okay, McNamara.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt kind of sleazy how they handled McNamara his last season here. Like you kind of wanted to stroke his ego a little bit because you didn't want to rub JJ McCarthy the wrong. I think at the end of the day they didn't want to lose JJ.
And
That's
they didn't
why
want
they
to lose.
started JJ early.
And in case things went bad, they didn't want to lose Cade either.
Right, so you
You
kind
know what I'm
of
saying?
gassed
So
him
like
up.
he's kind of like he's like, oh, you know, Cade's our man, and then he's like, oh, JJ's gonna start the next game. It's like I
It
don't
was
get
real
it, man.
two-faced. I didn't like how
It-
they handled the
I
situation at
thought
all.
I thought that was ridiculous, to be honest, and that's why I think that like Jim Harbaugh kind of like realized like he can't do this transfer portal shit because this is kind of stupid.
I got
Like,
a lot of too many people.
I don't think these guys like this, man. Like I don't think these coaches like going, oh, you know, I don't think they like lying to their players, but they have to because you know they're gonna transfer out and they're gonna like say like, oh, I'm leaving then, and then you're out without a quarterback, and then next thing you know, if JJ got hurt in game one, you're starting the kid that's at Texas Tech right now, show, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so there,
Or Alan Bowman or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like, all right, like this is what's happening. Like this is kind of it's not this is totally just
I
ridiculous.
mean,
right
I get it. I've heard college coaches say they don't like it because you have to have a brand new team every year. That's almost what you go through in the NFL. Almost.
Yeah, but in the NFL, you kind of know what's going to happen with your team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
free
if
agency.
if let's say you're a coach at Ohio State or you're a coach at West Virginia, like God forbid, like you have an offensive line of studs, and then someone comes in there and goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna take all your offensive linemen." Like, wait, what? Those are all big.
Dabo Swinney walks in with a blank check.
Yeah, he just says, "You want this? We got the check right here."
Fill
Or
it in.
Miami walks in, you know, they go, "Oh, look what we got. We got this private school money. Like, here you go." And that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I feel bad for these coaches, especially like the lower levels. Like, I don't think we'll ever see a Josh Allen come out of Wyoming again. I don't think we're ever going to see that. I don't think we're going to see a Texas A&M Patrick Mahomes. I think it's all going to be like these. If you're the big schools, you're going to pay the freight to get the guy that you want. And I think that these smaller schools are going to be really hampered. And at the end of the day, it's going to be like the big schools and no one else.
One thing I will say about that, though, once you're on an NFL radar, you're on the NFL radar.
That's what I'm saying.
So if they've been following you since high school, junior year of high school, senior year of high school, let's say you commit to Alabama and you decide after a year, you know what, too many quarterbacks ahead of me, bit off more than I can chew. I can't deal with this. I need to go somewhere where I can play. You're almost better going to Akron, transfer to Akron, and playing at Akron than you are just sitting at Alabama for 3 years.
That's why I respect Drake May. Like, I'm pretty sure that guy could have got taken out of North Carolina at any time. And he stayed there because obviously he has family lineage at North Carolina. And I respect JJ McCarthy too, because at any point in time he could have got a check too and said, "Here, you want to come to Miami? Come to Miami." You know what I'm saying? Like that's what you're dealing with this college football. And those guys we're gonna see very little more. There's not gonna be many of those guys. I think that's the sad part.
Yeah. I mean, I just wonder, like, what is your plan especially the quarterback, like Tyler Van Dyke? Did he officially leave Miami?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
Okay, you had aspirations of being, and I never believed this, but at one point in time 2 years ago, you were supposed to be the next number 1 overall pick.
Right.
To this year, PFF, last time I checked, PFF had him rated like this is before he decided to go back to school. He was somewhere around the 7th quarterback, something like that.
Right.
You're doing it for the money.
No,
And for the quarterback, for the players that's I'm gonna break it down like this. You're jeopardizing your future more than you understand. You're jeopardizing your NFL future for a quick check in college.
Yep.
You're gonna leave a comfortable school where you're producing at and putting up good film to go play somewhere else for the money. The system may be terrible for you. The coaching staff may be terrible for you. The wide receivers may be terrible. Now you got an extra 2 years of shitty film.
Yep.
You got your $3 million though.
And that's all they care about, man.
You got that though.
I think these quarterbacks, they just don't want to get better, man. Like I mean,
you waving a lot of money in 19 and 20-year-olds' faces though.
I just think though, like you have to have kind of like an added motivation to you to be like, no, I'm going to stick it out here, or I'm going to go to a school that's really going to benefit me in the long run. You know what I'm saying? And that's where these kids have these people in their lives where they're just like, oh yeah, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You go over here, you go over there. You know, there was a guy that I went to school with, and his brother was a Division I player, and he went to like 4 different schools in 4 years, and they always told him that he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they told him that he was going to be an NFL star. And guess what happened? He went to a bunch of different situations, and none of them fit him at all. And the sad part about it is now he doesn't even have a working college degree, and that's the sad part. You know, these kids that are the habitual college transfer portal guys, you're not really going to earn a degree that you're going to use. And you're not going to go to the NFL because you've never been in a situation where you can learn and grow and get better. You know what I'm saying? You're going from school to school to school, and you're always learning new shit, but it doesn't really help your development. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, you look at a guy like Spencer Rattler, he only transferred once, but he buckled down and he finished his career at South Carolina. People can feel however they want to feel about Spencer. Spencer's talented.
Yeah.
And Spencer has a ton of film. So if I was an NFL GM and I was looking for a quarterback, there may be other quarterbacks out there who have a better reputation than Spencer. I think Spencer been pretty quiet since he's been in South Carolina. You know.
Yeah.
But I would be more prone to take Spencer Rattler over a lot of these other dudes because I got a ton of film on Spencer Rattler. I know what he does well. I know what he doesn't do well. I know he's got mondo arm talent. I would rather work with someone like him where I know exactly what I'm getting myself into over these dudes who transferred 2-3 times and don't have any damn film. Who was it? Was it Bill Parcells? Or one prominent NFL head coach, remember making the statement, they won't draft a quarterback that has anything less than 20 career starts in college.
Yep.
Which makes
and now
sense.
you can't even get that, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like
you really can't.
How am I, let's say one of these big time quarterbacks coming out of high school the last couple of years. You may be super talented, but if you've been out of high school for 3 years, and I don't even have a full season's worth of film on you, I can't trust you. Because for one, you didn't play enough college football. And for second, you played college football in a gimmicky system. So it gets to a point where a lot of these dudes get to the NFL, and these NFL owners, and these GMs, they got to completely strip these dudes down to rebuild them. Look at what happened with Aaron Rodgers. They said that when they got him, they had to completely rebuild him from what he learned at Cal.
Right.
So there's a lot going on, I think, in college football
who wants
right
to do
now.
that,
There's a lot going on in college football right now that's doing a disservice to these kids. It started with the offensive philosophies and the schemes I felt years ago, especially guys like Dabo Swinney and Clemson.
Yeah.
But it's just everything is pointing towards a bad situation for these dudes moving forward, man. I hope they eventually get a handle on it. I like the portal. I just think they need to get some sort of handle on this, man, because right now it's out of control. These kids, they got
the Wild Wild West, I guess.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
granted, I understand they deserve the power because they deserve the right to make their own decisions, but how much power is too much power for a 19-year-old?
No, that's true. And I just think that these kids coming out of school, like I've said it before over and over again, like these kids, they're coming as quarterbacks and are not really, they're playing these bullcrap ass systems. You know what I'm saying? So I just look at it like that. Like it doesn't really prepare them for the NFL. It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, look at the top guys. 3 years ago, 6 years ago, we were told about how great Trevor Lawrence was and how great Trevor Lawrence was going to be, and Justin Fields. There's so much that goes into whether or not these dudes are successful or not, man. And you take a dude who came from a bad organization. I mean, let's say. Oh yeah, I'm only guessing how many college games did Justin Fields play and look at his struggles in the NFL. He played a handful of games at Georgia. I know before he transferred to Ohio State. He played, 2 full seasons at Ohio State?
Yeah.
Yeah. But look at the system he played in.
Yeah.
Stroud played in that same system. Now, Stroud is better at so many things better than Fields. Fields is more, I think, more mobile,
Right.
more wow factor as far as running with the football, but Stroud is a better player.
Yeah. No, I think people when Stroud came out, they were like, "Oh, this kid he can't run." Like this is what we're down to now. Like the mobility. Like okay, like yeah, he didn't really run like Justin Fields, but he did a damn good job throwing the ball. Like that's what you got to look at. Right, I know he can move, but these, they made him seem like he was immobile, like he was like freaking like Peyton Manning, and I'm like, the hell is
Davis
this doing, dude?
Mills.
Like this is stupid. Like right, and I was just like, this is so stupid. But like, yeah, like you're right, man. Like these people, man, they especially these draft evaluators and all these guys like that, man. They just over and over again, they kind of like they anoint these guys as like the top guy, right? They anoint like Trevor Lawrence, and they anoint like there's a guy every year that they anoint as like a generational prospect. And over the years, like how many are really generational, man? Like how many? Was
Can we
Trevor
start using that damn word?
Lawrence really generational? Because I'm telling you right now, people use it all the time now, bro. They're saying the same thing about Caleb Williams, and I tell people all the time, like, I love Caleb Williams, but is he really a generational player? He's got some issues that he need to work out. Like him throwing the ball, like Josh Allen sometimes, just throwing it up for grabs. I mean, that's not. It just doesn't resonate with me anymore, man.
I'm just, man, it's some of these phrases that we have to hear every draft process, man. Generational. You can't have you can't have 4 or 5 generational players every single draft and every single year. It's even Trevor. Like it was crazy, man, because I felt like the hater in the room. Like I would watch him at Clemson, and it would be mind-boggling. Like, what does he do substantially better than anybody else? Is it accuracy? No.
Nothing.
Is it deep accuracy? No. Is it short accuracy? No. Is it intangibles? No. What is it about this dude that y'all keep telling me is so damn generational? Until Chris Sims, who doesn't give a damn about anybody, he was the first person I saw get on television and say, I don't get what the hell you guys are looking at.
No.
It's crazy. And people go with this.
I didn't like him
at
Jalen Carter. I didn't think he was generational.
Well, they said Jalen Carter was generational. But when you look at Jalen Carter right now and you compare him to Jerzon Newton is a way better player coming out of college than what he was. Way more consistent. Way more consistent pass rush.
Hype up
way
these
better
guys
against the run. Yeah.
Yep. They hype up these guys, man. That's all they do. They hype them up every draft season. There's going to be a guy that they hype up this year. They're going to be like, this guy's a generational defensive end, or this guy's a generational defensive tackle. This guy's a generational cornerback. And you're like, just stop. Like, just stop. Like, it's so stupid, man. Like, when people told me that was a generational type player, I said, "Are you out of your mind?" Like, the generational type player that I assume is a generational player is Ndamukong Suh, Gerald McCoy. Those are the guys I assume is generational guys. You know what I'm saying? Where they step in the league and they already make an imprint right there. You know what I'm saying?
Tua
I don't
was
look at these guys,
generational.
which was stupid as hell. It was the
For
dumbest thing
some
ever.
reason.
Jeff Okudah was generational.
Man, listen. I remember your boy on, and I'm not going to call his name out, but your boy on 97.1 The Ticket from the afternoon show. I distinctly remember him saying during the draft process, Justin Herbert is going to be a bust. He ain't got the goods. If you're the Lions, you need to trade up and get Tua because he's generational. I'm not going to call no names.
Well,
I'm just going to say the black guy. I'm just going to say the black guy from the afternoon show. You need to take Jordan Davis, number 2 overall, because he's generational. This is where people are getting their football advice from.
Well, I mean, if you look on the page, man, like, I don't know if you've read the comments or anything like that, but like, you look at some of these opinions and they're just like what they hear on the radio, what they hear on TV. You know, like, I don't really want to hear Shannon Sharp's commentary anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to hear a guy like Michael Irvin talking football. Like, he doesn't even know where the Lions play. Like, these people, they just come up with these off the wall bullshit takes. Like, Jordan Davis should be drafted number 2. No, he shouldn't be drafted number 2.
Lions should take Nakobe Dean in the top 5.
Oh, I remember that. Nakobe Dean. Yeah, that was a great one. Yeah. Look how good he is. You know, I think Derek Barnes is better than Nakobe Dean.
We gotta realize too, man, a lot of these people don't really watch football like that. They watch certain teams. For damn sure don't watch college football.
No. I caught someone in there's a guy on 97 on the ticket, and I'm not gonna name names because I know that he has some people that watch his show or whatever, but he used to say, like, oh, he'd always pick out one guy a year that he loved. First it was Zach Wilson. You know, Zach Wilson is the greatest thing. I thought about him in the shower, and it's like, why?
I had to get a towel.
Like, why, man? Like, Zach Wilson, like, that's the guy that you're dreaming of. Like, oh, like, this is where people
all
get their
of the players
takes,
he wanted turned out to be terrible players too, though, which is funny. Right. I know exactly who you're talking about because he wanted Nakobe Dean. I distinctly remember him saying, I've seen all I need to see from Nakobe Dean in that Georgia defense. He's legit, and I want him in the top 5. Everybody that dude wanted, damn near everybody he wanted, turned out to not be able to play football. It's weird, man. And it's always book it. Concrete. I'm sold on this guy.
It's just so stupid, man. Like, I see it all the time on the page, though. Like, I see like these takes that like Aaron Glenn, like, he's not a good coordinator. Where is that coming from? You know, where is Cam Sutton, is a bad corner. Well, if you look at it realistically, the Lions blitz and they leave him on an island against Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb and Mike Evans, and there's not really many corners in this freaking league that could deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So that's been a gauntlet for him. But I just like look at him and there's not smart takes, man. Like, if you want a smart take, listen to Boomer Esiason talk football. That's a guy that I respect, and I like to hear, like, with him and Valeni on that podcast, the kickoff with Boomer Valeni. They have such great conversation. It's like, where is this Valeni with Rico? You know what I'm saying? Like, where is this guy? Because him with Boomer is a totally different thing. Him with Rico is like comedy hour.
But yeah, is two different shows. Boomer, when you're on there with a former quarterback, someone that's respected in football, you can't pull that same bullshit. So you have to kind of up your football knowledge. Now, when you're on there with the other guy, you can You can play the villain because that's pretty much what the stick is with them. The morning show, the 9 a.m. show, that's the over positive show, and then the afternoon show is the overly negative on everything show. So I get it, but yeah, I like Boomer. I think Trent Dilfer's pretty good too. Kurt
Trent
Warner's
Dilfer's
pretty good.
Yeah, I like some of the NFL Network guys. They talk some pretty good ball, but majority of these guys, they just go with the same old shit, man. Like they just go, you see with Dan Orlovsky, you see with all these guys, they spout shit that they don't even believe in. Like they really do. Like, all right, whatever you say, man. Dak Prescott's elite. Okay, all right. Oh, Nate Burleson's pretty good.
I think that's a lot of the hate Josh Allen gets comes because a lot of people feel like Dak gets a whole lot of hate. And I mean, if you're playing poorly, the hate is going to come there, though. That's just how it is. But I don't think there's any comparison between who's the better player.
No.
So
there's no comparison.
I don't know, man. People just need to leave these hang-ups alone. Can we all just judge all these players based off of who they actually are, and not have all these odd-ass biases between, well, you're criticizing Dak, so I'm going to criticize Josh Allen. Well, you're criticizing Josh Allen, so I'm going to criticize Dak. It's like there's too many underlining issues that you can tell people have. Like when I watched RC criticize Josh Allen yesterday, it felt like he had an axe to grind with him, or he had an axe to grind with the fan base.
Yeah. No,
and
totally.
It's not necessary. RG3 had a video talking about that yesterday. Like, can we stop doing that? Because I think as analysts, you're starting to lose credibility. Because people can tell when you just picking on somebody for the sake of picking on them. And it's not really about football. It's more so, I got to defend Dak, who's my guy. So in order for me to defend Dak, I got to trash Josh Allen, who's your guy. Like, we need to stop too much of that.
Just keep it simple, man. Like if you call a spade and whatever comes from it, that's what it is, man. But like these people, they come out there and they throw their bias as hell. Like what you said with Dak and Josh Allen, like that totally happens. I see that all the time. And it's really freaking annoying because you really can't get a good grip on any of them. You know what I'm saying? It's so stupid. Like this is not football is a kid's game. It's a kid's game. So like we oversimplify this shit like it's like rocket science. And we already had a rocket science coach in Detroit and he sucked ass. So I mean that just tells you everything you need to know. Like that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean some of it is just common sense. Like it's funny how they like to focus on Josh Allen's interceptions, but they just gloss over the fact that the dude was responsible for damn near 50 touchdowns this year. He's what's wrong with Buffalo. Well, if you think he's what's wrong with Buffalo, you fucking solve it. Take him out and put Matt Barkley in. Or take him out and insert whoever you want to insert and give that quarterback the same amount of responsibility that they give to Josh Allen. Put Dak in Buffalo and tell him to do the same shit that they asked Josh Allen to do.
It's not going to happen, dude. You know it. I know it. They're not going to do it. So that's how it is, man. Like they want to have an axe to grind with a certain player, and they like to go at them, and that's fine, I guess, for their perspective. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say, oh, this is the way it is, and oh, this is Josh Allen is the reason that the Buffalo Bills are losing. It's like, no, look deeper into this equation, man. Like I think we look at these quarterbacks and we go, that's why we win or that's why we lose, and as we see right now in the NFC Championship game, I mean,
yeah.
Is that any of these quarterbacks?
You ever notice how more level-headed the coaches turn analysts tend to be over the players, though? Like Tony Dungy. I loved listening to Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy is one of the most honest, genuine, even though he doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You can tell sometimes, but he brought it up after the New England loss earlier in the season. And he put it out there point blank. He's a super talented player, but the Buffalo Bills put him in bad positions, and they asked him to do entirely too much.
Bill
That's
Cowher says the
common
same thing.
sense when you look at Buffalo.
Bill Cowher says the same thing. He said the same thing after the game against the Chiefs. Like if they would have done this, they could have won that game. Or I hear even Rex Ryan. Like I know people don't like Rex Ryan as a coach or anything, but the one thing that he does do well is he does keep it as a coach level speak. Like he'll talk like the way that coaches talk. And he basically told Ryan Clark, like, dude, it's not just Josh Allen. It's the scheme. It's the way that they're calling the game. It's the way that they're
We
putting him in
watched
that
Josh
position.
Allen make the throw of the year, and Stephon Diggs dropped it.
Diggs dropped it.
But you want to go
That's
on there
what
shitting on him about a pick or about a decided run he did, and like you lose credibility. I think whether you were a former player or not, you lose credibility when everybody can see you're just picking on this dude for your own underlying reasons. He wasn't the reason they lost that game.
You ever think that Josh Allen has to make that throw because he knows his wide receivers are kind of not playing their best game? Like he knows if he doesn't make this throw, it's the end of the game. Like
Yeah.
I could tell you right now, like Jordan Love, that pass that he threw, it was really stupid, but it was a bad call by Matt LaFleur to put him in that position in the first place. It's a rainstorm, and you're putting him in that position. Like, first of all, what I do like about Dan Campbell compared to some of these other coaches is there's a time and a place where he's aggressive. There's a time and a place where he's passive. There's a time and a place where he kind of just says, "Screw it, we're going for it." You know what I'm saying? And I can respect that a lot. But these coaches that you see across the league, like Mike McCarthy and Kyle Shanahan to a fault, and Sean McVay and some of these other coaches, where they're so afraid of making a brash decision that they make a simple decision stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at like a guy like Joe Brady, who's the Buffalo Bills offense coordinator. Like there's certain plays that he could have protected Josh Allen, and then he could have predicated the pass to the run, or the run to the pass. I feel like a lot of these coaches that are younger, they're dealing with the same thing that some of these players are dealing with. They're not really fully aware. Like I think it was Bill Cowher that brought this up. He said some of these young coaches that are in the league right now, they make these decisions, and there's not really, they want to score obviously, but there's not a predicated in their mind that, okay, if I make this decision now, what does it do to the plays later? And that's what the old ball coaches look like. That's what they looking at the game like. And I'm pretty sure every one of these coaches is looking at this game and going, man, I wouldn't have done it. Bill Belichick, I mean, say what you want to say, the last couple of years it sucked, but when he would dial up the right plays at the right time with Brady, you know what I'm saying? And so did I like that Buccaneers coach. What is it?
Byron Leftwich?
No, the offensive coordinator right now, Canales or whatever. I thought he did a fantastic job with Baker Mayfield. Like I thought he made Baker Mayfield a better quarterback because he set the run up and the pass up, and he's like, we're gonna do a screen here, we're gonna get Rashad White in the game, and then we're gonna run it up the middle. And like I thought that was brilliant coaching by Canales of Tampa Bay on Sunday. And that's the kind of coaching that you kind of like. Now, a lot of these coaches that you see now, they just want to like, oh, we're going to run the ball, then we're going to pass it on second down, then we're going to pass it on third down. And it's like there's so much predictability to what these guys are doing, you know?
And on 3rd and 8, I'm going to go to my go-to play that I've ran on 3rd and 8 for the last 3 games.
It's on film,
the same
dummy.
Exact formation.
It's on film, dummy. Like I'm just like who was it? What's the coach? The offensive coordinator. No, the coach for Atlanta, Arthur Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading on Twitter. One of the reasons that people didn't like what he did in Atlanta was he had this go-to play that he went on 3rd down with, and he went with this 3rd down play 79.7% of the time. And you wonder why you struggled, man. You wonder why you struggled. It was a seam route to Drake London. Like, first of all, You have the quarterback to do that. Number two, why are you doing it 79% of the time? Like,
Man, listen. This guy ran a play with 3 tight ends, 13-man personnel, and had Kyle Pitts blocking for the up while the other tight end threw a ball to the other tight end. You got your pass catching tight end blocking for 2 blocking tight ends. I'm just, man, listen.
That's what I'm saying, man.
That's why I don't give these people, I give credit where it's due. I think there's a lot of football fans out there that feel like, well, you guys aren't in the league, you don't work for organizations, what do you know? You'll be shocked at how many know-nothing ass people work for these organizations. And I've heard this from multiple head coaches that coached in the league and NFL scouts. You'll be shocked at how many idiots run these organizations.
Exactly.
How many of these people just inherited positions? How many of these people just were born with money? They were born into money and got handed positions in these organizations.
Or they were born with
Look
a
at
perfect
Brad
last
Holmes.
name.
Brad Holmes got what Brad Holmes got. He worked his ass off to get where he got to.
He worked his ass off to get where he was at. You know what I'm saying? Look at Dan Campbell. Worked his ass off to get where he's at. You know what I'm saying? There's coaches in this league right now where they literally made it off their name.
Yeah.
Just that's what it is.
And a tree.
So, yeah, and a tree. Like how many times?
You clean
How many times are
bathrooms at SoFi, huh? You clean bathrooms at SoFi. What do you know about the Rams offense?
You know, like Sean McVay, you're gonna be the next offensive coordinator, man. Like I laugh because
really? Who me?
I laugh.
Just hit him with the who me.
He'd be like, "What?" He's like, "I don't know football," but it's funny because how many times are we gonna give the Patriot way chances? You know what I'm saying? How many times is Bill Belichick gonna give his assistants, like Jerome Mayo, I think might be a good decision for the Patriots. But besides that, man, like these guys that have came out of the Patriot tree, garbage, and they keep getting chance after chance. Like Josh McDaniels on a second chance, and he does nothing with it. So like I just look at it like this, man. If you work for the right coach, if you work for the right system, these idiots in the NFL, they're gonna be like, oh my god, you got Sean McVay's coffee? Hired.
Well,
We're gonna hire
the politics
you
too. Like I'm pretty sure we all heard about the politics behind the New York Giants and Daniel Jones prior to the draft, and how the Maras were friends with they were friends with his parents, or it was something. His high school coach. It was something where they knew about Daniel Jones back in high school. They were all said they were going to take Daniel Jones regardless of Dwayne Haskins or whoever else performed well. They wanted who they wanted. And I think that's a big part of right now of why they don't want to move on from him. But there's a lot of politics that goes into this stuff as well, man. And to just assume that since someone works in the NFL, that means they're a genius and they know exactly what they're doing, that's false. I just want fans to understand that. Think about your job or my job, anybody's job out there for that matter. We've all worked at jobs where someone had a management position that had no damn business being a manager. How did they get that position, though? Well, Joe's the great-grandson of the owner.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, I'm running now. Yeah, next thing you know, I'm running the company into the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny you say that because, like, that's how it is. Like, I was in the scouting school, and one of my teachers was Bill Polian. And Bill Polian told all of us in that class, there was 33 of us. He told us that if you go off, the reason that he was such a successful general manager is because he always had a background of why he was going to do what he was going to do. He says nowadays you got general managers hiring their friends. You got general managers hiring their sons. Looking at you, Troy Weaver, the Pistons. You got people hiring like their friends and family. Like it's not supposed to be that way. Like honestly, like the reason Bob Quinn failed in Detroit was because I did interview for the Lions with Bob Quinn, and they asked me straight up, "Did you go to Syracuse?" I go, "No, I didn't go to Syracuse." You know what I'm saying? Like, the fuck I want to go to Syracuse for, bro? If I'm gonna leave Michigan to go to another school, you think I'm gonna go to Syracuse? Are you freaking stupid? I'm gonna go to Arizona State or Florida, or Alabama, or something. I'm not gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go party, man. I'm not gonna go to Syracuse. It's snowing over there, man. Like, screw that. And like, as soon as I interviewed, that was the second year of Bob Quinn, and I knew right from there that what Bill Polian told us in that class about hiring people that you associate with because of a degree or because of family or past experience, you're gonna be a failure. You're gonna fail at being a general manager. Look at Brett Holmes. When you look at Brett Holmes, all of his guys that he's hired, all the scouts he's hired, they're all from different backgrounds. Like, he didn't just hire like Rams guys. He didn't hire a guy like, he brought in a guy like
just to make him comfortable.
Yeah, he brought in a guy like John Dorsey, who was a former general manager, and he said, I want your help. Like, that's a stand-up dude. Like, that's a guy that you can kind of look at and go, he does it the right way. Even John Lynch in San Francisco, I know that, he's had some big draft busts with Trey Lance and Solomon Thomas and all that stuff, but the one thing that he does really, really well is he wants people from different backgrounds. He wants people from different ideologies, and he wants people that are going to have different perspectives on things. And that's what landed him Dre Greenlaw. Like, there was a guy that watched Dre Greenlaw religiously because that was the school that he went to. And that's why they drafted Dre Greenlaw. And that's exactly what good general managers do. The reason Dallas hasn't been successful is because they can't get out of their own damn way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with those relationships, especially in college too. Like, you look at Alabama, the Lions like Alabama. They like Alabama players. They like the program. I think they like Saban. So I wasn't shocked at all that they followed up drafting Jameson Williams with drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. I look at the same thing with Illinois. Illinois been putting some damn good football players in the NFL. Kirby Joseph played a couple years with Jerzon Newton. I think a lot of those type of relationships matter. They really do. But yeah, I mean, some of these GMs, they get these jobs and they don't want to be uncomfortable. And the uncomfortable thing to do is to hire someone who doesn't think exactly like you. I don't want everybody in the building to think exactly like me, because now I'm going to have a building full of yes men. Well, Walt, you got me the job, so whatever you say, man, you want to take Cooper Beebe at 4? Let's go ahead and do it, because Bill through the whole line. Whatever you say, boss. Like, I don't want a room full of scouts that all agree with every damn thing that I'm saying. And it's like, when you look this the Patriot way, I don't know about Vrabel. I didn't remember hearing anyone have any bad takes on Vrabel as a guy, as a person when he was in Tennessee. But Brian Flores, Bill O'Brien, not Charlie Weiss. I heard Charlie Weiss was a pretty decent dude. People actually liked him. All of these ex-coaches, these ex-Patriot guys, you hear the same issues with them. Don't talk to me. I'm not allowed. Matt Patricia, Brian Flores, Bill O'Brien, you heard the same thing from their former players. How are you a head coach and I'm not allowed to talk to you? Well, when we were in New England, players weren't allowed to talk to Bill in the hallway. So you're going to leave Bill Belichick, start your own team, and treat your players like that? Don't talk to me. What kind of shit
You
is
ain't
that?
Bill Belichick, bro. You ain't Bill Belichick.
I mean, I just don't get what coach. Now, I've heard coaches say they hate, kind of like haze rookies like that. Hey, rookie, don't talk to me. Talk to your position coach. That I can understand that a little bit. But to have big-time key players on your team, just to have any players on your team not be able to speak to you, you just walk past me in the hallway, I say good morning, you just walk past me. Like, it's weird. It's cult-like what they had going on in New England. And I think Kraft is kind of doing himself a disservice. I would be trying to move as far away from that Patriots way shit as possible, honestly. But I knew they were going to hire somebody that they were comfortable with. You knew
No,
they
he
were going to
put
do that.
in Bill Belichick. He put in his contract, bro. The succession plan was in there. He had to hire Jerron Mayo, or else it was a breach of contract. Like, that's what it was. It's like, that's exactly what it was. And that's part of the issue with some of these guys in the NFL right now. They want to, I want to help my guys, and if I don't help
Brady leaves, you go back to being average to below average.
Right.
So I don't understand why. I understand bad organizations do bad organizational shit, which is, you know what, we're so shitty, we're gonna go get this guy over here. It doesn't matter whether he fits the culture or not. And I was talking to somebody about that the other day, about him in Atlanta. It's not Boston culture-wise is a far cry from Atlanta, Georgia. So you have to wonder, like, Bill Belichick, Atlanta, that young football team, what they're currently built as, is he the best match for that?
No.
He also doesn't have a Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah,
it's going to be a disaster if he goes there.
Dan Campbell fits this city.
These guys, yeah,
he fits.
You got to.
Patricia did.
You got to get.
I think we all knew that.
Yeah, he fits some of the fast food restaurants, that's for sure. But besides that, no.
He fit in that golf cart.
I don't know if he fit in that golf cart, bro. You know, some of these golf carts be a little bit small. You know, you just got to put yourself in there. But no, Dan Campbell does fit the city. Kyle Shanahan, he fits San Francisco. Andy Reid fits
California.
Andy Reid fits Kansas City, like, to a
barbecue.
T, like barbecue, you know.
We can bring barbecue into it. You really fit this town, Coach. Barbecue.
Man, I love that fucking commercial where he's talking to the State Farm agent Patrick Mahomes, and he's like, let me see that hamburger, show me again, and then he's like, give me those nuggets and show me again. I'm like, this guy,
right?
Andy Reid's like, he's a puppet, man. Yeah, it's like, man, I love that shit. Like, Andy Reid, I feel like coaches need to be more like Dan Campbell, Andy Reid, guys that are personable, and I think that's the way it's got to be. I feel like a lot of these coaches nowadays, they want to go in there and they want to, this is how I run things, this is what we're gonna do, this is it, and that's it. And it's like, man, like, just shut up,
I think we
I
need
hate
more
some of these
Dans.
coaches, man. Especially if you know who would be, Mike Vrabel is a good coach. I think he'd be perfect for Atlanta. To be honest, I think he'd be perfect for Atlanta.
But isn't that kind of like
I think
maybe
Dan Quinn would
hiring a carbon copy? I mean, Arthur Smith came from there, from Tennessee.
I don't think Mike Vrabel is like anybody else. I think he's just his own person. I think that's what really kind of irked the Tennessee owner, because when he went back to New England for his retirement ceremony, I think that pissed off the owner for Tennessee, and I think that the Tennessee owner is really she's gonna rue the day that she got rid of Vrabel. I just think that Vrabel is his own dude. Like, he's kind of an awkward kind of guy. He's like your Dan Campbell, like, players coach kind of guy. And I feel like Vrabel was a victim of his general managers, because his general manager got rid of AJ Brown. You know, I'm pretty sure that Vrabel could have hemmed in AJ Brown and said, look, we're going to play this way, and this is the way we're going to play. When they traded AJ Brown, I felt like that was where the Tennessee Titans were going down. So,
yeah, I think the Titans have some issues, man. They good issues, bad issues, but they have a certain identity with that team and that organization that they just won't shed. Like, they won't really come into this century.
I think it's all bad. I think the way the Tennessee Titans do things, I think it's just like, oh, this is the way we've done it, and that's the way we're going to do it. Well, you haven't won a championship, number one, to say that. And I feel like a lot of owners could learn from Sheila Ford. Like, give her flowers. Like, the way that she came in this organization, and she changed the organization philosophy, and she really came into a situation where the fans didn't even like her family because didn't do nothing. And she says, screw it, I got to bring in a guy who knows what he's doing, and I'm going to bring in a guy who knows football, and Chris Spielman, he's going to teach us all how to, like, how are we going to run things, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I think that's what she did right. That's what she did right. And I think it's a lot of these owners, whether you want to say it's Daniel Snyder, whether you want to say it's Amy Shrunk in Tennessee, the McNairs. I think the McNairs they're finally starting to realize, like, yeah, we was doing it all wrong. You know, the Ross family, you know, Stephen Ross. Like, I feel like all these guys, they the Bidwells, Mara. I feel like they all just they don't adapt to change. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of like, you know, where there's a guy like if you got an owner like Arthur Blank who actually made a business, you know, he understands that, like, he's got to change with the philosophy. You know what I'm saying? He's got to change the identity of the team. You know what I'm saying? I get that. But some of these people have, like, inherited the team, and they just that's the way it's been, and that's the way it's going to be. Not a good situation, man.
Not at all. Right, man. We done been on here for 3 hours.
Damn, man. It's been 3 hours.
I'm going to bed. Great show. That was at 9:52.
Yeah, Darcy was just gone and gone. All right, guys. We'll see you guys all in the next Detroit Lions. Well, you got a show tomorrow. I got a show tomorrow. So these people are going to be busy again. So it'll be fun to talk football. You'll get football all day tomorrow. So that's going to be great. So on the stream right now. Why is it not ending?